This is the first time CLG's got top 2 in the regular split. It's so good for confidence, but it's also a lot of pressure for us to do well. Our story so far has been choking at playoffs, so we feel that.
아니야, 첫 번째는 안 터질 거라 생각해. 두 번째부터 이기면 걔네가 멘탈이 터질 것 같아.
It's very important that we be able to shut down Rush.
Rush is definitely on fire lately, and the meta is definitely favoring him.
코벨터가 일단 플레이오프 경험이 없는 게 크게 작용할 수도 있다고 생각해요.
I just hope that we can have a really good showing and that me and the rest of CLG can make everyone really proud.
I believe in us. If we can't beat Tip, then we have no chance at Worlds, so we don't deserve it. This time, we embrace the pressure, and we try to thrive in the pressure, and we don't shy away from it.
지고 있을 때 좀 이기는 법을 모르는 것 같아. 이제 CLG 이기면 이제 한 걸음 갈 것 같아.
I don't want to have that thought in the back of my head that I could have played a little bit better. No, I want to have done it. I want to hold that trophy, look out at the rest of North America, look at the crowd and be like, yes, I'm a champion. Welcome everyone to Semifinal Saturday here in the North American LCS. We're coming to you live from Los Angeles where the fans are ready to see who will continue their march to Madison Square Garden and the finals. A lot riding on these games here today. Everyone's got a lot of energy as you see the fans going crazy already. And here you have Team Impulse just a short time ago as they load in for a day on the Rift against Counter Logic Gaming. A great series ahead of us, to be sure. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, and lending their expertise in today's matches are Aiden Zyrene Moon and Team Dignitas's support Kiwi Kid. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
How are you doing? Well?
Yeah, doing really well.
Excited?
I'm excited to see all you guys and be able to analyze for you, friends.
All right, well, since we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Kiwi Kid on the desk today, we're going to take advantage of the opportunity to knowledge steal by fielding some of your questions from Twitter. Send in your questions on playoffs, champion builds, or ask about the life of a pro support by tweeting at LOL Esports and use the hashtag AskKiwi. Now let's get down to business, though, with a quick look at the playoff bracket to see what is up for grabs this weekend. TSM took down 4th seed Gravity 3-1 and secured their semifinal berth, where they'll face off against the current frontrunners #1 Team Liquid. And battling in today's best-of-5 semifinal is Team Impulse, who had smooth sailing through their quarterfinals against Team Dignitas. Now they've got to defeat 2nd seed Counter Logic Gaming to lock up a spot in the finals. All 4 of our teams have locked in a place in the regional qualifier with a minimum of 40 points coming their way. The seeding for the qualifier is still up in the air, though, and the 2nd seed from North America is determined by the team with the most points. So even if a team falls short of the finals, they'll still be fighting to bank as many points as possible in that 3rd round matchup next week. Now to zero in on today's semifinal, Counter Logic Gaming versus Team Impulse. Few pro players have been as open about their dream to play in the World Championships as CLG's veteran carry Doublelift. And this year, well, it's no different. While the goal hasn't changed, Doublelift says his team has, and CLG are now ready to break through and compete on the international stage.
When you work really hard at something for a really long time, and you put your 110%, like you expect a payoff at some point down the road. And every time that it was time for the payoff for the last 3 years, it just never came. And it was so disappointing. It was soul crushing. Yeah, this is the first time CLG's got top 2 in the regular split. We always have a really great start, and then towards the end we just suck. And we always end up losing our top 2 spot, even though during the regular split we're doing pretty well. We kind of acknowledge that it was a little bit of luck that we got to this position. Gravity dropped out really bad in the last week, but it was also the result of a lot of hard work that we put in during the split. We had this really awful period in the middle of the split, and then ever since then it's just been a climb upwards. So I think, yeah, I really do believe in us, because this is the first roster that was able to bounce back from a lot of hate. Everyone was trash talking Smithy for playing really badly at certain moments, and it was just a lot of pressure from the community that we weren't as good as we should be. And I think we handled it super well, and ever since then we've just always been focused on learning. Swallow your pride and throw your ego away and just focus on learning only. That's what we've done, and I believe in us because we can just learn and adapt week by week And as long as everyone's willing to put the work in, then we can do it. In every other iteration of CLG, we would have avoided pressure at all costs. Like, okay, don't feel the pressure, don't be nervous, don't be, anxious for this match. This time, because of our coaches, I think that we embrace the pressure and we try to thrive in the pressure and we don't shy away from it. I think now we're leaning into it and using it to benefit us. I think winning NA just means it was worth it. It was worth it to stick around and put in all this work. So I just want the karma to finally roll around for us. Like, CLG's kind of taken a beating for a really long time. It would just feel right. It would just feel like it would be the right thing for CLG after all this work we put in to finally hold up the trophy.
It would also be a lot of validation for Doublelift because his trophy case is still empty, and putting NA/LCS in there as his first one after all this time would be great for his career.
Exactly. Now, Kiwi Kid, you've had the opportunity to play against this lineup. Do you think this year's CLG is one that can make it to the international stage?
Yeah, I definitely think they can. You've seen them, yeah, sure, they had like a little bit of slump in the middle of the season, and I was at most for about 2 weeks. And at the end of this, I think, honestly, all that really matters is at the end of the split, where you have everybody playing well, and Xmithy, even though he created a meme, he was hitting those really good ults. It was not only the disengages, but also he was finding those engages as well. And yeah, hey, what better do you want from a player that can both engage and disengage? It shows a lot of growth and prowess. So yeah, I definitely think they can do it.
And Zyrene, the team was on an upswing here coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're definitely on an upward trend. They were 6-0, barring the tiebreaker, right after they had that slump. And a lot of what got them out of that slump was they started doing top lane carries, which took pressure off of Doublelift. And you're talking about Xmithy. Xmithy has the lowest kill participation on the team, and Doublelift and Aframu actually have the highest by a large margin. So this team is pretty bottom lane centric. So when you have multiple threats, one in top, one in bottom, you free up that bot lane, you relieve pressure off them. And because of that, it's the first time that they've had a first round bye here.
Right, but with that, Doublelift said a lot of pressure comes along with it, Kiwi. Do you think that they can, kind of ward that off, fend off the breaking pressure on their mentality?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their ways to get past it. I heard they have a huge support staff now. That always helps. You can talk to players. You can just kind of own up to it. There's a lot of different things you can do. And it seems like they were playing so well at the beginning or at the end of the split. So as long as nothing too bad happened in between then and now, they should be able to take this.
Just got to keep that momentum going. Now, meanwhile, Team Impulse have rolled their strong finish to the regular season straight into playoffs with a 3-0 sweep over Team Dignitas in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, last split, Team Impulse, they finished the regular season strong, but they ran into troubles in the playoffs when the strongest perceived playstyle was Cinder Hulk, and that was outside of their comfort zone. So they failed to adapt, and they fell flat in playoffs, getting 4th. This time, though, everything seems to kind of be going their way, right? There's multiple carry threat junglers that are extremely strong. Top lane priority strategies are becoming more prevalent. And Impulse, they have the best top and jungle synergy in the league, so this just falls right into their field. And that's absolutely great. But on top of all of that, Dignitas versus TIP, they only had to show one strategy, really. It was Elise Shen every game, and they just kept going bottom lane.
Yeah, they didn't really have to pull out anything else they had because, whatever keeps working, just keep doing it. And yeah, it's kind of pathetic that we weren't able to bring out any other strategies from them, but that's just how it is. And it's kind of unfortunate for not only us, but yeah, CLG, because sure, so they know that TAP plays Shen strong, but now what? Yeah. And I think CLG is a team that actually is going to own up to the challenge. I don't think they're going to ban Shen right away. I feel like they're going to see how it goes and then maybe adjust to that.
Yeah, but the problem is they still have their original playstyle to fall back on, so it's very confusing when you enter pick and ban. What TIP are you going to see today? Because it was a different TIP in playoffs, very slightly though.
It's a somewhat specific point, but we did have Crumbs on the desk, and he kept mentioning to us that he wanted to see an Olaf come out against that Shen. Didn't happen with you guys, but Zion Spartan is definitely a player who would be willing to pull that champion out. So is the threat of that alone enough to kind of deal with the Shen? You think they still ban? You think they ban it regardless?
I think you ban Olaf, right?
Oh, ban Olaf.
Yeah,
if you're going to play Shen.
I think you ban Olaf. I make sure that doesn't get through. Maybe we'll see a Shen ban too, but I definitely think you ban Olaf right now. It's one of Zion's pocket picks. He's very good at it, and everybody kind of took inspiration from him.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like both of these teams are kind of, I don't want to say cocky because that sounds kind of too negative, but maybe kind of ambitious. I think they actually want to play the match, but I think they want to see who can play each other the best. Like, they don't care about counter matchups. They just want to see how things go. I think they might just ban things that they considered OP. I can see a lot of jungler bans happening, especially for Rush and maybe even Xmithy, because yeah, he's had those ults, but his Gragas has been looking really nice.
Yeah. Right now, a lot of fans, though, have been wondering how their rookie mid laner Gate would perform in the high-pressure games with his limited time with the team. And so far, I'd have to say the jury is still out.
Yeah, he wasn't an instantaneous carry for his team, but, I mean, Gate held his own against Shifter, right? But he's up against Pobel today, kind of a different beast. You know, Gate had some plays where he was cleaning up, but honestly, all Gate has to do in the way this team works is survive and end up showing up to fights, because it doesn't revolve around him. Their strategies are not Gate-centric.
Right. Now, Kiwi, again, you had the opportunity to play against them most recently. Was Gate, a perceived point of weakness that you guys felt you could attack?
Initially, we did, because we felt like he wasn't the strongest laner, but he actually farms really well, and actually, us focusing him was exactly what TIP wanted, because he's used to getting focused because people kind of seek him out. But he's great at playing passive, and that can be really detrimental to anybody who wastes time on him, essentially. All
right, we'll see if CLG can learn from that. Now, before we send it over to the casters, I do want to get you guys' quick predictions. Who do you think is going to win this series today? Irene, I'm going to put you on the spot first.
I'm going to say TIP, but I don't know how many games.
All right.
Because
so a nebulous TIP.
I think it'll be back and forth, though.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Kiwi?
I'm going to say 3-2 TIP.
Okay.
I just feel like I love how they work around Rush, and it really is inspiring, and it's so action-packed, and I feel like you need that calculative aggression to win.
Yeah, Xmithy has to step up today big.
All right, well, 3-2, though, means we're going to have a good series. So that is enough to get me excited. With that, we're going to hand it off to our casters to get the series underway. Now, as we go, Doublelift explains how the first round bye has benefited CLG and given them a big advantage in today's series.
For them, they're going to be focused on their match, Tip versus Dig, and then only have a week to prepare for us. And I think preparation against us is a pretty big monster to conquer. Like, we play so many different styles, and we play so many different ways. It's so hard to predict what we're going to do next. Having really recent information right before our match just gives us that upper hand.
Hello everyone, welcome to the caster desk. We're going to see just how good CLG's preparation really is, and Impulse's too. I'm David Victorly, along with my fellow co-casters Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler, Joshua, Jat, Leisman. You guys ready for some League of Legends?
Yeah, absolutely. Yet another try for CLG in the playoffs, and this is all the semifinal matches we have this entire weekend are awesome.
Yeah, I got to say, this is probably my favorite weekend of League of Legends in a long time.
Yeah, this one is specifically is going to be really action-packed because these are the teams in the North American LCS that have the most kills. The most kills per minute as well, because they also have the fastest games. So, definitely going to be a lot of action.
I gotta say, the GPL semifinals were last night, and there was like more than 1 kill per minute for I think like every single game.
Right, might not get there.
But we're gonna have some very fun, very bloody games. It's gonna be awesome, and we're gonna check out the starting lineups for Game 1. On the blue side, Game 1, Counter Logic Gaming, Zion Spartan in the top lane, Smithy in the jungle, Pobelter in mid, Doublelift AD carry, and Afromu support.
And on the red side, it's Team Impulse. Up top is Impact. In the jungle, Rush. Mid, Gate, AD carry Apollo, support Adrian, and Coach Fly.
And of course, we already have the analyst desk introduce the game, so Champion Select itself will start very shortly now. What are you guys looking for as we get ourselves into the first game?
Target banning Rush.
Yeah.
I might as well throw all 3 bans at it.
I wonder if they're going to throw all 3 bans at him, because it's obviously the Lee Sin and the Evelyn are high up on it, and the Nidalee and the Elise. That's actually kind of 4 deep. So I wonder if you can throw all the bans and get successful deltas out of the next champion he's playing on.
Well, keep in mind,
nope, not all 3.
Okay, yeah, not all 3. Gates of Zero's gone, but both teams picked blue side for all of their games, which is actually a bit unusual for the LCS. So first pick seemingly very important for these guys, which makes me look very closely at what CLG goes for at the start. Azir Nidalee, I think, not surprising bans against Impulse so far.
Interesting how CLG fear the Elise more than the Lee Sin. I mean, Rush does not like Elise as much as he does Lee Sin, obviously, because he prefers champions that can jump over walls at any time and don't require something to jump to.
I think even more interestingly, it's the fact that CLG is banning it on the blue side. Elise is a champion that is proven to be viable for first picks in a lot of different situations. And then I almost feel like because CLG banned out the Elise here, it makes the Gragas ban, which Xmithy played in the vast majority of his games during the regular season. It's kind of a champion pool test for Xmithy, and maybe he's just going to go with Echo. First pick, that's an unexpected first pick, that's for sure.
I was thinking Evelyn in my head. Both these players very good at that champion, but actually not at all.
She did just get damage nerf to her Q. 20 damage late game, which is fairly significant.
Of course it is. We'd still seen her somewhat competitive, but yeah, it seems to be dropping her down enough.
Yeah, but the Gragas ban, I really do like that. That's, for me, has been Smithy's best champion by far, even with the ults sometimes going over his shoulder.
Yeah, and I mean, as Kiwi could actually predict it on the desk, they're going to see what Team Impulse throws at them with the Shen. And for Tip, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Impact has been an amazing Shen player all the way back to the Season 3 World Championship, and he's continuing the trend here.
Yeah, I like, since they're on red side, just going and sticking with the strategy in Game 1 with the Shen and force CLG and Zion Spartan to actually make him change. I did talk to Zion quite a bit, actually, about recent top lane matchups and the changes with new top laners emerging and a lot of the counter picks, and he's confident going into Shen. He actually has a couple of options.
Here's the question. How is his Fizz into the Shen? Like, he has the Olaf and the Fizz, the two champions that Zion Spartan has been most successful with recently, and both of them are available right here. The other thing that we can look at for CLG is the champions they were using during their 6-game win streak at the end of the split. Pretty much all of those team compositions, when they could have them, had Tristana and Fizz, two champions they could easily control in this draft phase.
All right, well, we're going to see how well they can control the turrets in this one. They do have the Tristana. The Evelyn does come through, and yet again, Impulse letting the Kog'Maw come through. We'll see where it ends up going, if it's Apollo's or Gates.
That was quick.
Yeah.
So it's the Olaf, Kobe.
Yeah, no, well, it's not really a surprise.
I was surprised how quickly they locked in. A lot of times teams like to let that timer lock down really quick, but I guess.
So the thing is, like, carry champions are really good into Shen just because you have a pretty free lane there, and Olaf is pretty much the top tier for carry champions right now. And then Victor has been #1, if not #2 mage in the mid lane. So that's why those picks at the end were so quick there.
The only thing that's surprising to me is, even though it has been such a huge pick, it's not something Pobelter has played this split that I see. He's been pretty much only on the Azir train. It's also interesting to me here that, once again, CLG decided to go Olaf without any inherent speed boost, so he's really going to have to snowball ahead since there's not really a team fight comp there. Whereas Team Impulse, again, has gone with this Kog'Maw. Apollo, towards the end of the split, is becoming less of a utility and being relied upon more as a carry. It's a new dynamic for Team Impulse.
Yeah, he's by far the most important carry in this game because they've put not only top lane Shen, but also mid lane Lulu locked in for Gate. So very supportive cast here for Apollo on the Kog'Maw. It's going to be all about the DPS uptime on that Kog'Maw. He has to be able to keep auto-attacking.
And the one thing I like most about this is, so many times when you have an Olaf in the game, it's an arms race between whether or not the Olaf can overpower the AD carry, and Team Impulse is trying to tilt the scales heavily in their favor with that last pick. Lulu, all the shields they can put on Kog can give him time to kill Zion Spartan.
Yeah, if he can't kill Kog over the 5 to 6 seconds of his ultimate, then they can peel him off with the Alistar, with the Shen, with everything else, and with 3 guys keeping him alive for longer, maybe that works. Also, as far as the mid game's concerned, Evelyn and Lulu can hold some weight for a while.
Absolutely.
So Impulse might be able to hold on until that Kog'Maw reaches infinity.
Even Shen is quite good in the mid game after first item. So.
Holding on against CLG has been really hard for most teams in North American LCS, though.
Now, CLG, a great early game team, and you guys at home are always involved in these ones. Stay connected with us on Twitter. Let us know how you think this series will go. Vote and tweet at Esports with the hashtag CLG win or the hashtag TIP win. Our analysts on site, Zyrene and Kiwi Kids, said it would go to Team Impulse in some number of games. You can prove that wrong. Here we go. Game 1 of the North American semifinals.
To touch on the early game a little bit more for CLG, as you can hear the crowd chanting. Not only do they have the most first bloods, first turret percentage, and they're tied for first dragons, But both Zion and Double Left have the most CS advantage at 10 for their roles. So their lane swap game has been really strong. But it's all about the late game for CLG.
It is about the late game, and in fact, Apollo talked about that, and he says part of Impulse's strategy is to wait for CLG to slip up.
For CLG, we actually kind of rely on them to make more mistakes because they're really known to throw. And it sounds a little bit harsh, but we do actually kind of play around that. We know that they'll probably make the first mistake rather than us making a mistake.
It's always the question.
Yeah, well, I was wondering about the first mistake. That ended up being just a trade of Summoner spells, so CLG was doing the aggressive invade, and Zion Spartan forced the flash, but he lost his Ghost. So as far as which Summoner comes back first, it is a tiny advantage there for CLG.
Well, and the thing is, attacking Olaf early is a pretty good strategy. You know, Shen, the thing with all of these tanky champions that aren't able to bully their lanes and win them on their own, they always have a bunch of CC in their kit, and Shen is good at setting up early moves. Look at this invade here, though. Is going to go across the ward in a couple seconds.
It's the second invade CLG is doing. It's actually rare that a team will do deep wards on one quadrant of the enemy jungle, then sweep all the way over to the other side. This is going to get real interesting. I wonder what CLG's going to end up doing here.
Well,
that was the mind game.
Their plan to attack Rush early is paying off here because they found him on the other side of the map, and they're taking away jungle from the quadrant that Rush is already committed to. So now he's going to have to find a way around to some farm on the other side.
This could turn so bloody so quickly because Rush does not like having this jungle stone. He's going to go in.
He's going to try for the fight. Tonko's in on his Zion Spartan, who is missing a defensive summoner. He has no way of getting out very easily. Impact, though, missing his cooldowns for now. Gate showing up. Glitter Lance hits Zion Spartan, but Poe Belter shows up to buy some time. Out they go, and a camp and a half gone.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, Rush did get the large Raptor, so from a total experience perspective, Rush hasn't really been set down since that one quadrant was taken by both teams, and now they spread to the rest of the jungle. This is a big-time mind game, and some big bluffs are going to have to be played now to see whether Rush or xMithi can get a bigger edge in the jungle.
And actually an interestingly lucky start for Impact there. I don't believe the bot lane was disturbed at all, and yet it's actually freezing towards the Shen. And again, it is a summoner-less Olaf. Evelyn not the scariest at level 2, but something you may need to keep track of. Zion Spartan's going to be over-committed here. For now, though, Rush happy to go for a somewhat counter-jungled blue buff here, and it actually might end up being 2 buffs per team.
Yeah, basically it seems like Rush went to chase xMithi into his jungle and maybe catch him doing his blue, whereas xMithi wanted to cut off Rush in the expectation that he'd try and get his red since his other red was stolen right there. Very, very strange here. It looks like now they're all going to figure out what exactly has happened with that late invade by the CLG side. They know pretty much what's up.
Well, yeah, since the bottom lane minion wave was already pushing towards Impulse, it makes it very easy for CLG to make the call to go for this invade, to try and pick up the blue, because Zion can easily shove up the lane. He had a huge double minion wave stacked and go ensure that Smithy is not harassed while he does go for that counter jungle. So both of them coming away fairly even.
Yeah, the strangest thing that I do want to mention about all these early game jungle shenanigans is in the past, we would have said that this 3 buff is a giant advantage for xMithi since they stole the red and the blue and got their own red. But then if we just look at the gold, it's actually Rush who is up about 100 gold over top of xMithi because all the little camps have so much golden XP put in them, and honestly xMithi spent a lot of his time in transit. Really no full advantage even gained from all those shenanigans.
Yeah, that was really a thing of last season where stealing away buffs was a very big advantage. Early game now, not that big of a deal. Rush has amazing early game stats for junglers, while CLG do, as a team, hold pretty much the best spot in the North American LCS. Rush as an individual, as a jungler, does have the biggest advantage.
Yeah, and as far as where the teams get their advantages as well, it's something we're going to have to track throughout this whole series. Neither of these teams really gain their advantages from the mid lane. It's usually about the side lanes. Specifically, Tip, they've been getting advantages from jungle and top. We talk about that all the time, but it's actually Zion Spartan who holds, as you mentioned earlier, the largest CS differential of 10 for any top laner. So it really is almost a battle of similar strengths, even though they go about it in slightly different ways.
Meanwhile, we're seeing one of the big strengths of Team Impulse here. It's been Apollo throughout much of the playoffs here, and so far this bottom lane has been slightly in CLG's favor. Devilif holds a small minion advantage, although Impulse right now with the health bar lead, they might be able to force an awkward recall away. And Rush is still kind of juggling this side of the map. There's really no way for Smithy to get to this side, but he is going to do the bot side. And now Impact's got to be pretty careful. Taunts away. He will, I believe, be safe.
Yep, just walks around the stun there. Adrian goes in for the combo and some good harass onto Double Lift.
Yeah, but the health bar keeps getting lower and lower for Counter Logic Gaming. Double Lift on 1,200 gold right now. Does not want him back for another 2 minion waves if he can help it, but it might be forced early as some good trades keep coming out.
Yeah, he is actually rightfully respectful of sticking around, because if he does, Impact is going to be hitting level 6 shortly. And pretty much the classic thing to do when you're running an Evelyn Shen team composition is to do the 4-man dive almost right as Shen hits level 6, because it's one of the hardest things to prepare against. One of the only ways is to have your jungle camp that lane, or just to make sure you're sitting at full health at almost all times. Smart of Double Lift back there.
Yeah, Kog'Maw's actually one of the best harassing AD carries. Even pre-6, just the attack range you get. Oh, the stun lands on a Rush. Big trade coming in from Smithy, trying to cut him off. Penalty does come through, but Rush losing a lot of health, doesn't want to have to flash out, and he won't just yet. And now Impact comes in, the rest of the crew flashed over the wall by Lulu to get away. And Impulse just not taking the right kind of fight. Impact gonna have to use his flash. If it even matters, he's one hit away. There's the axe! And first blood, Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Team Impulse was out of sorts in the midst of that fight. Impact taunted in as Gate was flashing out, and then Impact wanted to save his flash. Kind of ridiculous that xMithy picked a fight with the jungler 2 levels above him, and his team was the ones that come away with the first blood. First blood to Zion Spartan as well, exactly what COG wanted.
It's the strong laners, that very quick double lock-in of the Olaf and Victor that we saw collapsing earlier, and being able to just burst down single target after single target here from Team Impulse. Each member of Impulse goes in one at a time there. It's very easy for CLG to focus their fire onto a single person and force them back out of the fight. There was very little return damage during that skirmish from any member of Team Impulse. They spent almost the entire time running away, and that's why they were able to, that's why CLG was able to come out with a victory in that skirmish, even though Smithy was so far down.
Solid plays, and you know, the way CLG wants to win, get a good early game and have your dominant laners continue to dominate. So far that is happening. Zion Spartan has to feel good about this start of the game. Double Lift still just holding on to this matchup. Apollo really not getting much of a lead.
Smithy gonna visit mid, but Gate gonna be able to speed boost himself out. He was trying to take advantage of that flashless mid lane Lulu, but does have her own utility built in. Able to get away from the Echo. Still level 4 there for Smithy though. He's still behind, even after that kill. Rush has already hit level 6 and ready to roll with the Evelyn ultimate.
Yeah, we have to remember that was a team fight where the solo laners were level 6 and the jungler was level 3. So
he is flash.
Definitive that xMithy was behind. Rush has been spending most of his time farming in a somewhat risky fashion, but even with that first blood, because of the gold discrepancy between the junglers, which is now approaching 700, it goes to show you how much time xMithy has spent just walking around versus the efficiency of Rush's jungle power.
Yeah, it was just good path there from Rush compared to Smithy, because Smithy actually didn't get off too many ganks during that time either. So all around, just a better management of time.
So he's trying to set up top lane now. Sweeper comes through, so he was spotted by a ward. He just cleared that now. And now Gate coming in to play defense, but he'll get pinched off.
Yep.
Smithy runs out.
And it's funny, actually. There comes the teleport. 4 members.
Shen does not have ulti just yet. Here's the dive into the back line. Apollo gets stunned up out of the turret. The Braum passive's there, and another kill now for Zion Spartan. Now what else can they chase? Somehow, Afro Moo lives with the chasing back down onto xMithy. He does not have an ultimate, so he will go down. That's 1 kill picked up. Pavota joins the fight, finds some damage on a Rush. A double kill for Gate. Now Poet, they're forced to flash away with exhaust on him. A big knockup from Adrian. The fight continues, and Double Lift goes down. Rush kiting away from Zion Spartan, survives the encounter. 4 big kills for Impulse.
Exactly the type of fight the Team Impulse wanted, and even though the initial timing of the dive was good by CLG because the Shen ultimate was not up, by the time the fight stretched and CLG had committed themselves into a turret dive, it allowed Team Impulse to collapse back to them. The biggest thing about that is the fact that Gate did make it to this fight. He had been slow on rotations in past games.
Yeah, it was huge because even though CLG were able to clear out that ward, it tipped off Impulse. They all collapsed here. Adrian, Afro actually able to just jump out there. I thought he got headbutted out.
Yeah, smart turret tanking right there, and Paul Belter thought he had the flank, but honestly, never underestimate the power of Impact Shen coming in at the end of that fight. The rest of CLG then also overcommits when they should have been in retreat mode. They could have split this fight 2 for 1, but because Doublelift actually expended his flash to try and get a kill, which he had no business getting with all the shields that Gate could throw out, it ends up costing CLG even more.
Yeah, and even though the gold was fairly close, almost even there before that fight, the experience advantage on Impulse side definitely coming to front there.
It's interesting as well with the fact that you've got basically 3 supports in this team. Shields are really, really strong when no one has any damage yet, and you just saw how hard it was for Impulse to lose another member. So well fought by them. The lanes get swapped around 11.5 into this one, and now Rush joining his dual lane on the bottom side. Spotted by a ward, this gank won't mean much. Yeah, how afraid does Rush have to be? Yeah, very. Oh, this is risky.
He already used W. It's dangerous to go back in without the slow cleanse there. But with Apollo and Adrian, he's able to take down the pink ward, the great nemesis of Evelyn. And there goes another one.
Yeah, from a team comp perspective, you could say that Team Impulse is a little bit low on damage, but one benefit they have is CLG doesn't have anyone on their team that can shield or heal very well, so that damage will stick whenever Team Impulse gets through it. And also, with the way that Rush has gotten to Runeglaive so quickly, he is going to be one of the primary threats on this team. They're going to continue the aggression, teleporting in.
He's already threatening Smithy, and wow, double knocks him into his teammate. Down he goes. Smithy already gone. Right now, Adrian tanking the turret with the Alistar ulti on. No chance to go down. Another 2 for 0. Impulse getting so many good fights.
Yeah, their team comp's coming out of control a little bit right now. This is the mid-game power spike that they wanted.
Also, when people look at team comps and sort of judge the damage output, it's based upon expected builds that are, you know, the norm for the champions, whereas Rush has been building his Evelyn almost full DPS in some games, and he's looking like he's going to build more AP after the Runeglaive as well instead of going straight into tank after that. So definitely their mid-game damage will be there, because especially Lulu doesn't fall off in the mid-game either, so still maxing out her Glitter Lance, and plenty there for Impulse to take after the turret. Going to knock down the Dragon as well. That one tower dive up top just swung so much momentum over to Impulse side with those 4 kills after the tower dive.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very difficult game for CLG to come back from. We talked at the start of the game about how during the regular season, CLG was the best team across almost all aspects. Highest first blood percentage, first dragon percentage, and first tower percentage. But this game, they lost the first tower and the first dragon, and also face a big gold deficit at 10 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of their early game advantages in the regular season were taken from lane swap scenarios, where they were able to get Zion ahead before he even had to go into a 1 versus 1 scenario. But with the match this time around from Impulse, not able to get that early game advantage. And the thing is for Impulse is they have more global tools here than CLG. With the Shen, they can obviously go with the split pushing, and the rest of the squad can keep Apollo safe while they wait for the Shen split push pressure to get to work. Looks like Zion Spartan completing his flat cleaver though will provide some extra threat. Here comes the siege of mid lane.
And that provides a little bit of time, but
and
this turret's
they
going
have
down.
to respect this Team Impulse turret diving, and Alistar can always ult. Why has he waited so long? He didn't want to have to burn that, but he did.
That was really good, chunking out Adrian and burning his ultimate right there for CLG. They were able to buy time for Poe Belter to get back to mid lane. Poe Belter is the wave clear for the team, so him being in base is why Impulse were able to get so much damage down on that turret. Here comes the flank from Rush, though.
Getting jumped up, but Afra's going to almost get one shot.
Nice
Summon heal comes in, plus the shield. Shelty will come in just in time, and we've got Impact here picking up 1. He's going to get Poe Belter. That's 2 kills so far. 2 for 1, but now comes the Olaf. He wants in, but turns back too soon. Just going to take too much damage from Apollo. Has to run away, and it's yet another team fight won by Impulse.
Incredibly bold play by Rush right there. It does cost him his life, but at the end of the day, CLG wasn't as grouped up, and Aphromoo got caught a little bit out of position, nearly able to rescue that one, but it's still going to cost him.
Yep, Smithy and Zion can try and wait clear with Qs, but again, Poe Belter being down means they won't be able to defend the turret, and Impulse claim another one.
All right, getting far, far ahead. We keep track of the junglers, at least I will. 1,500 gold lead for the jungler here. Rush incredibly far ahead. He's not even far from getting his Rylays, which makes it even more ridiculous trying to get away from him.
Yeah, and one somewhat tragic thing is the fact that Xmithy is still waiting on his jungle upgrade. But to track this one once again, Rush saw the flank, CLG collapsed on him very well and bursted pretty much all their damage to break through the shielding. The fact is, though, Impact still made it into the fight. Because of the flank position, Pobelter was exposed, and then when Zion comes in, he's not synced with the rest of the damage, so it allows all focus to go down on him. And we're already 50 minutes in, he couldn't even go down and zero out Apollo.
Yeah, it's once again, Impulse just a few seconds quicker on the collapse there. Zion not there at the very beginning of the fight. They're missing the front line here for CLG, the threat that's supposed to make Impulse move backwards instead of trying to dive the back line here. And Impulse able to expand on their early game lead. Take down the second of the outer turrets. One more to go for them.
Definitely feels like a very crisp game by Impulse. The fact that everyone just seems to be there on time, whether it's a penalty or just the team collapsing, or the fact that everyone's just always nearby to Adrian. Impulse have so many people in every single fight, and someone's always contributing.
I'm really liking the Lulu pick for Gate from Team Impulse this time around, because not only does it give him the built-in speed boost to be able to join the fights quicker and try and keep up with the rest of the team on all the action that breaks out, but also being able to choose who to give your defenses to. Early game, it's going to be Rush, who likes to build a lot of damage on the Evelynn, and then late game, they'll just shift over their priority to Apollo and protect the Kog'Maw. So they do have insurances for basically the entirety.
Yeah, I really like this. The team doesn't need any more than 3 major threats, and heck, even 2 is maybe okay here. Support mid seems to be just fine right here. So Lotus just going to be lane dominant, but will not find any harass just yet. And as Dragon number 2 spawns in a minute and a half, Impulse are exactly 3,000 gold up. And that edge might be too much for CLG to fight for it, but it's enough for Smithy to take down the Scuttler. Now that will despawn before Dragon comes back up, but they're still trying to make moves. Bottom lane outer is going to be going down, and so Doublelift, highest minion kills in the game, and knocks the turrets out. Attack getting stunned.
Good stun.
And there's the chase and in, taunts away, but then a second stun lands thanks to the Braum passive, taking a whole bunch of damage. They're focusing him down, and it's gonna be enough damage. Doublelift gets the kill. CLG finally answer back.
Impact was just tremendously overconfident right there, thinking that he was an unkillable wall right there, but he really had no backup, which allowed CLG to push heavily. The other thing that prepped that play is long ago, CLG got deep wards within the jungle, so they knew no help was coming for Impact, allowing them to go so aggressive, and that was honestly Team Impulse not having pressure anywhere else, and a nice rotation by CLG.
Really solid by these guys. 45 seconds on Dragon, but Impulse push him away.
Yeah, not only the wards, but they also attack the Shen rather than someone else trying to go for the pick, so that there will be no global to come in. And good interruption right there. Zion going to work on top lane, though.
This is really critical because Team Impulse has the Shen ult up right now. They may continue to chase for this fight, knowing that they want to force Zion's teleport down as well. They realize there's no real escape.
He's a bit low, will not land the stun himself, but Victor will, so.
Great zone control there from Pobelter, able to dissuade Impulse from diving any deeper. Impact was itching to come back in.
It's still going to buy him Dragon, though, I think. Even though Zion Spartan's going to recall and try to have items in time for the next fight, with so many forced to go back and heal, I don't think CLG can arrive in time to stop the objective being taken.
Not even close. Basically, CLG got trapped in between 2 choices right there. They wanted to get as much damage as possible down onto the tier 2 turret, but then that also didn't allow them to recall in time for any type of Dragon fight. They know that they are the disadvantaged team in this matchup, and honestly, the second Dragon is not the important one. CLG will try and trade objectives until they can go for the next.
Yeah, they have to be very careful at this stage in the game because they want to be able to pick someone off from Team Impulse before Impulse are able to group up and make use of the synergy of shielding their carry champions, but they always have to worry about the Stand United coming in. Here comes an outer turret kill, though, able to get some extra gold back for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we're back to a 600 gold game. Counterlogic Gaming just made up 2.4 thousand in the last 2 minutes here. Really, honestly, pretty solid by them picking up a kill and 2 turrets to get this one closer. As Jack mentioned a second ago, Dragon 2 really not that important as far as team fight power goes. I do also want to mention, it's so hard to kill turrets against Braum Victor. It's practically impossible, and you have to actually out-rotate them typically, it feels like, to knock those things down. The shield comes up, you can't do damage to it. Victor wave clears in about a second flat. And from games I've seen with those champions, quite hard to siege against them.
And something that hasn't been a strength of CLG during the regular season has been their ability to come back in games. It seems like it was either snowball or bust. And in this particular game, they fell behind fairly substantially. It was about a 2,000 or 3,000 gold lead by Team Impulse. But since then, because CLG has drafted such a good wave clear composition, it does seem like they're playing smarter after the poor early game choices that they made. Pobelter staying more safe, getting the kills down. They've actually been able to get significant deep warding into the jungle of Team Impulse, which is really hard to do when you're against a Shen team that is ahead of you. But because they've been able to do that, they're doing a better job of actually tracking where Rush goes, and it's the reason they've been able to get these turrets and keep the gold lead close, as well as farm relatively safely.
That means we're in a close one. So when the next fight happens,
Defensive rotation up to the top lane here for CLG. They should be able to head it off. Adrian is ready to go for turret dive though. Alistar does have flash and ulti available.
potential 3v3 as both junglers are around.
Zion Spartan's about to get that turret down bottom too. CLG trying to buy him some time.
Comes two, but they look for Pobelter. Big burst comes in. Gate's gonna get a lot of ulti. He's trying to keep himself alive, running away from Pobelter. But the focus turns on a rush. He goes down. A big knockout comes through. Pobelter is low, but not taking enough damage. Somebody who helps keep him alive. And now it's actually Zion Spartan pulling even more aggro. Does go down to a Glitter Lance, but still more kills coming through for Counter Logic Gaming. And the chase continues with a stun on an impact. Explosive charge goes off, and that's a 3-for-1 for CLG.
Whoa.
And not even done yet. Can they get more? The Q lands onto Adrian. They're gonna get the stun with one more hit. They get him. They get a fourth kill. CLG back in the lead.
That's gonna be Baron as well. They're all going back over towards the, well, never mind. Rush is back up. Maybe it's a bit dangerous.
That fight stretched so long that it would be really risky because the respawns are already coming in for Team Impulse. Overall, though, that fight just started so well, and it was on Pobelter making an aggressive flank play right there in spite of being against Shen and Evelynn. Because he dumped so much damage, he forced the Shen ultimate onto a non-rush target and really started off the fight.
And
so
look at this, he flashes the Shen taunt as soon as Impact comes in too. So he draws so much attention down here, and CLG collapsed with the extra DPS uptime right there. Impact with no taunt. On Shen, after you miss taunt, your team fight is horrendous. And he just walks around trying to auto-attack people. Even though Zion went down there, he was able to put enough threat onto Apollo to try back both of the frontline members and allow the rest of CLG to take down the remaining Impulse members. That right there really from Afromu, able to land the Q for the slow, netting them another kill here, was huge.
Yeah, and beautiful skill shots by Afromu down the stretch right there. Nice comeback thus far by CLG. This would be such a monumental moment if they can actually come back and beat Team Impulse here, since their last 6 playoff games have been defeats. To come back in game 1 against such a formidable opponent in Team Impulse could do wonders for the momentum and mindset.
Yeah, I mean, people always talk about CLG choking later in the game, but that was a clutch play right there from Pobelter to basically negate Impact in that entire team fight.
You know, the guys who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting are honestly Doublelift and Smithy, both of whom kills resistance 7 out of the team's 8 kills. Doublelift knocking a lot of turrets down. Smithy, for as much flack as he's getting, having a great game so far.
Yeah, they were able to get that very quick collapse. Again, that was 4 members of CLG with about a second of DPS time on only 2 members of Impulse to get a huge health advantage just as the fight starts.
Rush actually had to burn his flash because he got spotted out by Victor and Olaf down in the river while CLG was prepping Baron. So it is on Team Impulse to try and make a bit of a recovery here. It is interesting to bring up Xmithy in this context because his teamfight participation has been very high, even though he has been falling heavily behind in gold and in levels. But honestly, a lot of people do pick the jungle Echo for the team fight prowess in the late game and the ability to chain CC for the high damage dealers on CLG. So as long as he can do that and Pobelter and Doublelift are positioning properly, it can still work for CLG.
Yeah, definite improvements for Smithy. During the regular season, he had the second lowest kill participation for junglers, but stepping it up pretty big this game on the Echo. Even with tank Echo slight nerfs.
Well, Adrian, the only guy at 100% in this game. Aftermath also at 7 of 8, by the way. So both supports very solid. Zion Spartan on the side. They look for the stun. Won't quite find it from Echo. Adrian just outside the ring.
This dragon is quite huge. CLG actually has very good ward coverage throughout this map. You can see Team Impulse trying to catch up with it with 3 upgraded yellow trinkets, but that also means Team Impulse doesn't have any sweeping capability, so it makes their flanks much more difficult since CLG is just covering them with wards, and every time Team Impulse is coming through the jungle, they are walking through full vision, so the sneak attack is really hard to pull off.
Yeah, the vision being acquired early here by CLG is very big for them. The reason they came back in this game and the reason they won back-to-back team fights was because they had the better positioning at the beginning of the fight. Impulse have not been able to get the initiation they want, and allowing the Kog'Maw Apollo to be able to free fire for the duration of the fight. It's always CLG jumping on Impulse.
Yeah,
and forcing the issue here.
There's actually a big problem for Impulse though with this Evelynn now becoming a bit squishy because she went for the Rileys, went for a bit of a greedier build. She's not a huge threat. And
almost no resistances. That's why Belter was able to chunk him out so easily.
Right, and Gate of course not a big damage threat. The big problem is that Apollo's behind. He is 1-1-4. He is he's like 2.4 thousand gold behind Doublelift. It's 3 item Tristana to not even 2, or just now 2 items on this Kog'Maw. When W is down, he is not a threat here. And there's no Zeke's, no Ardent Sensor making him more powerful. It's a long road ahead for Apollo here.
Yeah, interesting item choices because as far as Team Impulse is concerned, the whole Evelynn Shen being able to force early fights and dive, which is kind of the niche of this team comp, to work very well. They executed that a little bit early, but then because of the tremendously uncleared ward coverage by CLG, they were honestly able to spot out Rush whenever he was farming his jungle and couldn't really get snuck attacked by the submarine Evelynn Shen.
Yep.
And it's a continuation of the vision control game, on top of now Team Impulse having some issues trying to itemize optimal.
Yeah, you touch on this vision game. Look at this. There's 3 upgraded yellow trinkets and still a yellow trinket on Apollo on the AD carry here. Hasn't swapped it out. They don't even have the scrying orb when they get into this scenario where CLG have vision control around Baron. Some exchanges here. Adrian already pretty low.
Bit of damage CC waste on Aftermoo. Adrian pulls in the Doublelift ulti and uses the battle between Impact and Zion Spartan. Seems to be Zion Spartan favored right now. 500 gold lead for him in the matchup, and that might mean a little bit. But that bot lane is pushed up. Aftermoo again taking some poke, but honestly Apollo is not a big threat to this Braum. Afro does not have to care. You talked about the damage sticking earlier, Jack. There's no heals, but it just does not seem to matter. There's no damage to be dealt. Mid lane pushed in first by Impulse.
Yeah, that's
CLG keep threatening Baron.
That's the other thing about putting so much of your team into that range DPS from Kog'Maw. Braum can block a huge amount of it by enough time for the burst damage on CLG to take someone down. Here we go. There's the only sweeper on the team.
Impulse finally got a ward back onto Baron. They'd actually had no vision during that prior dance around the mid lane, and Impulse were correctly slow. Now let's look again, a ward there. Zion Spartan was able to steal away the blue buff here. Impulse could not spare the time to get that for themselves. Zion really creating a lot of advantages for himself as bot lane is slow burning a lead for CLG.
I really don't see why Apollo hasn't picked up a scrying orb. They're going to need it because they're so far behind.
He thinks he doesn't need it.
Kog'Maw can sometimes scout with his ultimate, but the level 1 warding trigger doesn't exactly do
the
much.
submarine reaches! Pull Belter takes a dive in the mid lane, and now Impulse maybe have some room to work with. 2,000 gold down still, but control over Baron.
Yeah, I was going to say COD had to play very carefully because they're doing a 1-3-1 split push, and all Team Impulse wanted to do was submarine in on them to get the initiation. Paul Belter is up way above the rest of his team, and that is the pick that maybe Team Impulse needs. They can just go for Baron, unless COD is willing to go into a 4v5 without their main damage dealer. It would be Impulse's Baron. Smithy, though, prompting.
Only Adrian's done. Smithy, though, going to ult right back out. Adrian pops ulti himself to stay alive a bit longer, but that means the jungler will die off. That's 2 kills picked up in a row. Still 10 seconds of Poe.
Rush goes low.
Low on health. He's got to be real careful here. The passive will tick off of him. But Apollo now W on cooldown. Can't do that much damage.
It's still a full team of Team Impulse. This is an incredibly risky fight. How many crits will he get?
He's really low. They get the Baron. He just stays alive. But how quickly can they run? Doublelift going to do so much damage. Zion Spartan wants in. All the slows don't quite land. The disengage by Kog'Maw just barely enough. And by the skin of their teeth, Impulse pull ahead.
That was an incredibly tense moment for Team Impulse, but it's what they needed to regain some control in this game. What was really interesting is that was pretty much preempted by CLG trying to do the 1-3-1 split push and extend their farm advantages, since really Team Impulse doesn't have good people to deal with the split push. And the way you break that is you force a fight as your squad of 5 and then go take an objective. CLG left open the opportunity to do that because Pobelter was out in front of the rest of his team without peel, and eventually Team Impulse converts it for that Baron, evening the goal.
Yeah, this is actually pretty bad for CLG. You talk about the balance point for Olaf, because he obviously does not build many resistances, and he relies on the threat of him killing the AD carry sort of as his defense and forcing the AD carry to kite backwards and spend more time walking rather than auto-attacking. Kog'Maw's very difficult to itemize against in the first place. Not having, you want magic resist as well as armor. He's got percentage health.
Every stack
shred.
is punished in some way.
Exactly, for both damage types. So Zion right now, Zion's in a very tough situation where he wants to remain a damage threat, but also has to deal with the dual shredding of Kog'Maw, and is definitely losing a lot of the threat in the team fight now.
And of course, everyone not named Olaf could be peeled by some member of Impulse there. So yeah, there's a good wall in front, and I don't think Zion can strictly win the duel. So Dragon coming up in 10 seconds. CLG did earn the previous one off of their prior gold lead. But with Baron buff on, I think it's pretty unlikely you can test this.
Yeah, especially because if CLG loses a fight, they most likely lose the game with a strong Baron buff push down the lane by Team Impulse. They have to just kind of give this one away. Doublet was hoping to get some damage done over the wall, but it's unlikely
that happens. Flash. He will not. Would have been risky. Actually, could have E-ulted. I guess not even that risky.
Yeah, well, also the big thing there is not only do Impulse get the Dragon, but they also have Baron buff, so the split push that they were doing while getting that objective also nets them a turret kill, and they're being able to close the loop here on CLG. All that vision that they were not able to clear out with. Uh-oh, here goes the dive.
They go right away for Aframu. Ulti pop to buy some time. Good damage from Doublelift as well. He's
Apollo's in a bad spot.
Oh, wow, overextension Apollo. Way too far forward, doing his Charlotte impression. Goes down to the bot tier 2 turret, and now it keeps on going. Already 2 kills picked up. Trades for Olaf. That's the third one. A double kill for Pobelter. Smithy might try to find one more. Can he slow down Adrian? Not quite. Boots will be going to be enough, but CLG fires in.
Just a huge gap in the positioning of Team Impulse. They go for an immediate dive, but they had just separate goals right there. The team gets split. Apollo is completely isolated between CLG and a teleporting Zion Spartan, so he gets wrecked. And there goes the advantage that Chip got from Baron.
Yeah, you have Baron buff. You want to continue the split push. You want to Baron buff as many minions as possible.
Yeah.
You already have so much pressure, and they are the ones to force the issue here. Impulse getting a little bit too anxious there for the tower dive, and a big blunder. Let's CLG right back in. They get 2 turrets off the back of it as well.
Perfect capitalization here by CLG.
Get the turret!
Almost perfect.
All right, you know what? It's okay. It'll die soon.
Yeah, 12 health. 12 health on that turret.
If that turret never goes down this game, I'll be so sad.
So that's not even the big thing, though, right? You're on your back. You want to have that cash right now, because they're going back to purchase right now.
Yeah.
So being able to get the turret later doesn't do a whole lot for you. Yes, you'll have more gold in your inventory, but it's all about the items that they're able to buy for the next team fight. And that was actually a huge defense for Impulse. Look at this, though.
Honestly.
Apollo's even taking the turret as he walks in to try and...
Apollo, he was trying to catch up to the rest of the team because he thought that was a clean dive, but honestly, he needed to walk around the other side. There's just no excuse for that. To actually take the turret aggro before the dive,
yeah, I mean, there are a couple problems with that. The call to begin with, then the execution as well, so...
Yep. I mean, I agree. Yeah, big misstep by TIP gives away a lot.
Yeah, and even though Team Impulse did get the 3-0 in the quarterfinals, in every single one of those games, there was a decent-sized misstep by Team Impulse somewhere in the game. It happened every game, and the question we were asking in that series was, when was that going to come back to actually cost them a game? This was their misstep in this game. Obviously, you don't want to have those missteps, but it seems to be something that continues to plague Team Impulse, and now they have to make up for it.
Yeah, that's always, to me, like, what Impulse has been about, is he's like, 70% of the time, they're right calls, where it's like, they're going to be really aggressive, they're going to be very proactive, and it usually looks cool, sometimes looks terrible. Apollo said part of their game plan was waiting for CLG's mistakes, but, you know, some of those on both sides, certainly.
Plus, as we get to the super late game, I always give the advantage to the team that has more threats. The optimal full item builds, I feel, always include some sort of DPS item. And Shen definitely going to fall off pretty hard for Impulse.
It's such a tough one here because on one side you have kind of a Juggermaw with an AP Lulu and a Kog'Maw that could theoretically rip through people, but then you consider the fact that you could have 3 people just bursting damage onto that main threat and take him out right away. Ultimately, the more threats might come out on top just because one misstep in positioning will be punished harder for Team Impulse than it will for CLG.
Yeah, plus, late game Tristana does still bring the crit to the game here, whereas Kog'Maw doesn't have any in the build quite yet, unless he turns that into an Infinity Edge.
That's almost definitely the build. I would be really surprised to see Bloodthirster from the Kog'Maw here. I really hope it's not. I think it's they're very wrong out of the buy. So it's worth pointing out that Adrian actually on Alistar is actually both a good Zeke's Harbinger and a good Ardent Sensor user. I'm pretty sure the heal hits everyone, and Shen just doing bonus magic damage on hit, not exactly a bad thing. Lulu either, so.
Gonna take a while for him to build it up, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly rich. All right, top lane fight. Impact has a lot of passive magic damage burn, and Zion Spartan, not having a lot of lifesteal yet, actually will slowly lose to Impact in a straight duel.
315 AD, not even close to enough to break through a late game tank armor stacking Shen.
Even with Black Cleaver, yeah, it's just very hard to deal with Sunfire Thornmail.
Oh!
Yeah, that is pre-Infinity Edge crit, by the way, 477 against a real champion. It gets worse from there. That was Triforce proc as part of it. There's the ulti in. The rush slows down too. Double if Rocket jumps away. He's still got Buster Shot, does not use it yet.
Yeah, the question will be whether this positioning allows Team Impulse to get a turret or whether CLG can rotate in behind safely. This game is on such a hair trigger right now. Could really go either way.
Whoa, Smithy went in the...
Oh, dear.
That's one mistake.
He thought he was a Sejuani ultimate. Just went right in there to the enemy team.
You're talking about, positioning late game. These are where those mistakes will cost you something like an inhibitor. Those are very, very scary at this point. And him being on Echo is going to allow him...
Yeah, he does get one do-over.
...to redo. But, yeah, gonna have to... It's a big cooldown. They do not want a team fight now. So, definitely dangerous for them. The other thing that is very big in the late game is sort of the game-changing ultimate from Alistar, where later into the game, everybody's getting all this penetration, and it is about punishing missteps, and you can burn people down very quickly. Alistar is one that still, to the late game, remains extremely difficult to work around.
Yeah.
Provides so much zone control coming from the support role, even more than a lot of the common tanks do, even at full tank build. So.
And he's getting more shields too. Locket plus face.
Alistar will be fairly big.
This is also a super important part of the game. Dragon 4 is going for tip, and COG is trying to
Interesting trade here.
With the Victor and the Trish, they can burst down this Baron so quickly. The question will be, do they finish or do they peel and fight? They're a little slow here, so Team Impulse could get a fight if they want it.
This could be a 4v5. Olaf could show up, so could Shen. Adrian buys some time, pops with him, and takes so much damage he could die during the Alistar ulti. Gate also forced out by the Victor. And this Baron now just starts regenerating back to half HP. Dragon did not even go down. Baron gets stopped.
They need to let Apollo lifesteal off that, yep. Impact stops hitting it.
They want to keep going on this, but remember, there's not many critical ultimates outside of the Alistar one that was burned by Team Impulse, yet CLG did use the Victor ult, so the team fight could still go in Tip's favor. Rush has Flash to try and steal, or will there be a fight?
Afros at half, Gate's really low. Will they get enough there? Wild Growth is alive here in the back line. Blue team picks up Baron Nashor. No steal for Rush. He flashed and did not do anything. Double knocked him away. And there's the axe slowing down Gate, misses the glitter lance. Q lands from Afro, gets away, a bit of burst, and they re-engage. Now Pulitzer's low. Impact of the front line has to flash out, and they pick up Braum. They almost get Xmithie. It's so close, but he survives it. But it's now the chase coming in. The Kog'Maw wants it all. It's a trade of 1-for-1. Rush, he's got to be careful. There goes Double if the shields come in. He goes down, but he gets hexed, and now Apollo's going to die for that one. A double kill, and the chase continues. Gate trying to run away, but CLG, they've won the fight.
Battle of the late game AD carries, and Double Lift comes out on top.
For all the times that Double Lift late in an important game has flashed or rocket jumped in the wrong direction or too far into the team and have it cost his team the game, the fact that he's still doing that, but this time is successful, is just remarkable. This time COG take a little bit of control of the game. It's at least the inhibitor.
There you go, TSM eat your heart out. 80 carries who flash forward and make it work. Well played by Doublelift here.
Eventually it's going to work. That was,
of course.
That was such an important play for Doublelift to go super aggressive, get the extra attacks to pop off that explosive charge. What an intense fight.
Important crits as well. Crits at this stage of the game. Beat everything.
Knocks out Rush, who came in too early.
Yep, gets knocked
No
out.
chance
Gets
to
knocked
steal.
out though for Freak.
Yeah, such a back and forth fight too, because this is the moment where Zan Spartan is going for the kills because he can ignore the glitter lance. But then when the Olaf ultimate runs out, it's time for the fight turn by Team Impulse.
Yeah, Impact able to get the taunt only on to Pobelter there, but he does split the team. As Impact draws all the attention over the wall and uses his flash to get out, it split the team long enough for Apollo to go onto the front lines. Here though, Doublelift seeing red,
like
goes in for it.
Also flashed over the glitter lance, and then to get the auto attack immediately after Apollo, be able to rocket jump afterwards. It's a very clutch moment for a player that often gets shut down because of his poor performance in those clutch moments.
We said it was going to be an action-packed game, an action-packed series between CLG and Impulse, and they are delivering thus far. Big, baroned up triple wave here. 2 cannons to boot, and they will be able to get that turret pretty easily.
All right, Counter Logic Gaming. Jet, you mentioned the missteps of Impulse. What would it cost in the game? That bot lane tower dive that gave away practically 2 turrets and a couple of kills. CLG have ballooned quite far off of that, actually getting
And it was while they had the Baron too. There's the damage of the late game victor as well. Apollo now has to back out of the fight. It's going to be the second inhibitor easily.
5-item Tristana. She's got everything she wants. Doublelift 7-1 and 7. He missed out on a single kill from his team, crushing it now. Knocking down the top Nexus turret. It's going to go down pretty soon. Apollo on 3 items, actually 4, is a threat here. They have to respect his damage output.
Yeah.
Next turret survives for now. Rush spotted on the side.
So you just need to keep up the pressure. They have 2 inhibitors down.
And I think the big thing for COG is to disengage Rush when he gets into the flank ultimate and then kind of play the long fight. They know they have a big advantage here.
Yeah.
And they're hoping for an overchase by Team Impulse. It's ridiculous how powerfully COG is moving into the base here. Really just wanting to get down those Nexus turrets even though no one is dead on Team Impulse.
Yeah, they just have to watch out for someone getting a little bit too close to Apollo. Apollo only needs a few auto attacks to take a single member down.
Headbutt pulverized Pobelter. Oh, they burst off the support and Rush goes down too. No one's dead from CLG. Impact has to dash away from the team. He taunts the air. That explosive charge does some damage. CLG in the lead.
That was one big example of Team Impulse having not quite enough damage right there. Rush also had to build a little bit tanky. They lose that fight and most likely the game.
Impact's gonna be pretty low as well. There's the last turret. On to the Nexus they go. 43 minutes. Counter Logic Gaming in the semifinals take game 1.
First playoff victory for CLG in a while, and they still have 2 more victories before they can move on to the finals that they would need to have. So really, I mean, that was the action pack first game we were hoping.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Made possible by a lot of questionable decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
From both teams there.
There were questionable decisions on both sides in this one. The whole reason that COG was able to come back in the first place, the really poor farming that xMithy had in the early game, then poor rotations by Team Impulse, but ultimately it's who can capitalize on those things the best is who's going to make it into the finals.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, really solid. CLG capitalized definitely quite well. I do have to commend Impulse's early to mid-game, though. They went for so many dives, and so many of them were very, very solid. There was the mid-game submarine on the Victor in the mid lane that got them the Baron in the first place, and that super tense Baron call itself, really awesome as well. Like, there's obviously a lot of bright spots for Impulse, but sometimes they burned a little bit too bright, and it blew up in their faces.
Yeah, I wonder.
I was trying to make the metaphor work. I think it got there.
I could see the cogs spinning.
Happened. Yeah, the game happened. It was fine.
Yeah, it was super fun.
It's interesting here. So we're going to swap sides for the next game, right?
Yep.
The Shen was effective for Team Impulse, but not ultimately victorious. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a long series. The closeness of that game makes it unlikely of a 3-0.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll see if the Olaf gets contested as well. Zion Spartan definitely good on the split pushing. Yeah. Doing well for himself. We have more to talk about in the future games, but for now we have the analysts to talk about that one as CLG took over game 1.
Thank you, Freak. as they said, that was a very close game. Might be indicative of the 3-2 that you predicted, Kiwi Kid. Now, jumping into it was mentioned on the desk, so I'm just going to hit it first. The Shen pick for Impact, although not victorious, did work to some degree, and they have shown a lot of success on it in the past.
Yeah, his Shen ults were really effective throughout the early game. I feel like the mid game it collapsed, and then people were going in too early, or he wasn't ulting the right person, or people were in really strange positions. So I thought they were playing it effectively. I just felt like they weren't able to utilize it later on in the game, and they didn't get as much of an advantage off of it as they had intended.
Yeah, Kiwi, even with the Olaf pickup, which was the proposed counter pick to Shen, Tip still seemed to be using that champion very well.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Shen is probably never going to be Olaf one-on-one. And we've seen that numerous times with a lot of previous matchups of other LCS teams. But there is a way you kind of play against Shen against Olaf, and that's to create disruption on other sides of the map. It's kind of the way like Maokai plays almost every matchup. You just kind of want to farm up. Break even is very good, and Shen has 2 teleports, so that's one or the other, and you just want to fight.
We saw that manifest pretty early on into the game. We are not showing this replay, but there was an early tower dive by CLG that was countered by Tip. Soon to follow, Tip went for their own tower dive on the opposite side of the map. That was kind of what created for them that massive early game lead.
And there's some really strange things that happened after that, because Apollo got starved of CS, even though there were 2 global plays made around him right before that. He then got in a solo lane against Zion, and a fight happened on the opposite side where Impact got killed pushing bottom. And that means Apollo has to abandon that wave, abandon his CS timing, and Doublelift got way ahead of him. And then he's just playing catch up from behind. And you were talking about how Kog'Maw is just so important in this composition.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much have a mono-threat comp. I think maybe we would have seen a more damage build on Eve from Rush if he had snowballed even more, but he started to go tank after Rallies. And so since Apollo is pretty much the only damage build, as Lulu is mostly there just for shields and ults, the moment he fell behind, CLG had so many openings and they looked a lot better in teamfights just because they had more damage.
Right, yeah, this game, although went back and forth so many different times. I do want to pull up our only replay rather. 21 minutes into the game, this is CLG playing from behind, picking up a 4-for-1 in the top Rivers. Irene, I'm going to let you take this one.
Well, you're talking about how Eve might have had a more damaging build. Here, you're going to see, if he had had a damaging build, he probably would have been eliminated immediately. That's kind of the catch-22 here against a Victor, is you want the damage in this composition, but you're against a Victor who's just going to absolutely destroy you, like right here. Rush and Gate just get so much damage onto them. But I love this flash here from Pobelter. As soon as the, boom, taunt comes through, he gets to the other side, now he's out of threat range. He almost dies. See, one more auto there before the shield would have done it. But the big part of this fight was Zion Spartan kept Apollo out the entire time. And then Apollo doesn't have effective uptime. He wastes his W duration, and now he's basically a 500 range Kog'Maw having to run around. In this play right here, just
beautiful.
Kiwi Kid.
Man, I love Afro.
he flashed W and queued for that
flash
play.
W, skill shot play. Oh my God, Afro, are you serious? Like, that's the only thing Afro would do. I can't even say I would do that play. I feel graced by watching that play. It was just so, it was just so good. And, you know, like a team fight, if you start with the Lulu on yourself, you're probably gonna lose that fight. Yeah. If you're a backline or you're in the front line, and yeah, it was just a really bad start for TIP. And, you know, Zion, like you said, played it really well. He was like kind of kiting Kog'Maw back and forth and not just diving, and it was just really well played by CLG.
Right, but that was only the midpoint of the game. It was beyond that we then saw Tip secure a Baron, you know, off of CLG getting picked, and then not necessarily contesting it in a correct manner.
Crazy fight there. Kind of fight.
Yeah, it was like a standoff.
They all got away, and I was like, how are you allowed to do that? That was absolutely insane. I couldn't believe that they got out with all 5 members.
Yeah.
Right, but then you follow that This is just to illustrate the back and forth of the game.
Yeah.
You follow that with the over-aggressive dive by Tip in the bot lane, having had the Baron. Apollo seeing the teleport come in, just taking turret shots as Zion arrives to the fight.
That's where I feel like the game really turned around because they had the Baron, they had gotten in with everybody up, they were going to split push, and then they decide, oh, let's go for an extremely aggressive play instead of sieging, and this is what bit TIP. Because the Kog'Maw, like, you have like 3 options there, and they are all way better than the one you chose. I didn't even think that was an option.
Right, that shouldn't be on the list of options.
You kill those last few minions, you make it so the turret's hitting minions instead of targeting whoever, and then maybe you can walk by.
Right.
Or you go up, or you go away, right? One of these choices is much better. All of them are much better than take turret shots, walk into their team, and die. Because there's just so much threat on you, and it's the Olaf TP. As soon as you see that TP, and he was not under the turret until he saw the TP coming, you just back off.
I mean, to give benefit of the doubt to Apollo, maybe he just felt really cocky, or like he felt since he had Baron, he just, I guess, trusted his team. But, you know, it's a really perilous position. And actually, you can argue that the TIP dive wasn't that over-ambitious because you essentially, if they had disengaged, they got Bramble almost for free, or for Shen'el, but they also got a teleport. And that's what you want to do as Shen. You want to trade your globals, and now you have your teleport for free. So you can maybe force a 5v4, and you had Baron. It actually was going to work really well.
Like, I think the dive would have worked out. It's just the execution on it and Apollo having to walk towards it was just absolutely bad.
Apollo should have called that off instantly.
Yeah.
All right, well, ultimately, good plays and some not-so-good plays on both sides of the Rift this time around. We'll see if CLG can keep the momentum going in Game 2 against Team Impulse. Stay with us. Semifinal Saturday continues after this.
So quiet, guys.
Oh. Yeah, man.
We're meditating.
Supreme
meditation,
focus.
baby.
Supreme focus.
Supreme.
Big knockup from Adrian. The fight continues and double lift goes down. Rush kiting away from Zion. Spartan survives the encounter.
Okay, going on Tristan. Oh, Echo. Brom.
I'm thinking.
No, gimme. Okay.
Nice.
I'm cutting back.
I might go right.
I'm gonna exhaust Kong. I exhaust the Kong.
Right. I got Lulu.
Yo,
Go on this guy. Shen. Then I can reset.
Apollo's in a bad spot.
Oh, wow. Overextension Apollo. Way too far forward. Doing his Charlotte impression. Goes down to the bot tier 2 turret. There goes Double Lift. The shields come in. He goes down. But he gets hexed. And now Apollo's going to die for that one. A double kill. Counter Logic Gaming in the semifinals. Take game 1.
Welcome back, everyone. You're getting a look at Team Impulse after that Game 1 loss, regrouping and preparing to even up the series with Game 2. So a lot of pressure on them, though, having gone down 1-0 to start the series. Now, of course, if you can't make it to Madison Square Garden to catch the North American LCS Finals, don't worry. Our friends at Coke have got you covered. On August 23rd, they will be hosting viewing parties in theaters in over 25 select cities across the United States. Come out and see the playoff finals on the big screen and cheer on your favorite team with a slew of your fellow league fans. Find more information, head to lolesports.com and click on the viewing parties link for all the details. But right now, it's time for Game 2 between Team Impulse and Counterlogic Gaming. Gentlemen, with such a back-and-forth game where both teams had an upper hand at different points, do we expect to see much change coming into Game 2?
I honestly don't. I thought these guys both got stylistically pretty much their favorite composition to run in the current meta for them. So I think they won't change up too much. Maybe an Olaf ban, and I think you were talking about maybe an Alistar ban as well.
Yeah, I think CLG definitely are just going to play their comp again, but I feel TIP might switch it up. I know Adrian really dislikes playing Alistar, even though I think we both think he's at least one of the top tier supports. But since with the laws, and I feel like TBR have really kind of they do have impact as a veteran, but for the most part, they're kind of a newer, underexperienced players. Yeah. So Adrian might lose kind of confidence in Alistar, and I know he loves to play Janna and other stuff, so we're probably going to see that.
All right, maybe a switch up there. You know, from a play style perspective, do we expect to see anything change?
No. I feel like carry top, and then you just run the same strategy. You just pick and choose different champions if something's banned.
Yeah, I think they're just going to probably switch up the support. That's how I feel.
All right, looking at, let's say, the jungle matchup, Rush versus Xmithy, we did see Rush secure a pretty substantial level lead there at the beginning of the game, as well as a CS lead. But it also meant that he was sacrificing lane aggression, which is what we generally know him for.
Yeah, it was really smart. He identified that COG were playing very scared. I don't know if he just looked around the map and did it himself. If he did, that's ridiculous. But yeah, he might have gotten lane info, like, oh, they're playing pretty scared, don't gank this. And you saw like 2 levels above Xmithy at one point, and that seems like really big.
All right, with that, the teams are just about ready on stage, so we're going to send it over to our casters. As we go, Team Impulse have had success on a few go-to champs, but say they've still got a couple surprises they can pull out.
그러니까 저희 팀에 되게 각 라인별로 잘하는 픽들이 있어요. 이거는 뭐 숨길 것도 없이 막 니달리가 승률이 100%라던가 알리스타가 승률이 100%라던가 그런 챔피언들이 있는데 그런 챔피언들 저희가 골라도 좋고 그쪽에서 밴해주더라도 저희는 다른 걸 준비하기 때문에 그냥 그 잘하는 챔피언이 무기가 될 것 같아요.
Well, I'm definitely curious to see what they choose to go for here. Analyst Desk said not much would change. Alice no longer 100% win rate support, though maybe that one does, as Kiwi Kid said. But yeah, I'm actually very curious to see how deep the strategy pools really go.
So yeah, the thing with Impact, even though he's used Shen in all of the playoff games so far, he's tied for the most diverse champion pool among top laners, and he plays the best carry top laner, as Dyrus quoted as saying he's the best carry top laner in the North American LCS. I think that's a very viable strategy. They could easily put Apollo back on something like Sivir and shift it around.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because Impact is pretty much, if Dyrus says he's the best at carry top laners, it would make him the best top laner right there. Zion Spartan plays some of the split push top laners and different top laners.
Right, that's Dyrus' opinion.
Yeah.
And obviously Zion is no slouch himself. Definitely debatable between the two. But red pick, CLG will have counter pick if they do choose to use it there.
Oh, and interesting, actually. Impulse banning away their own Alistar. It looks like CLG picked the exact same 3 bans. And that means it's a Braum pinch.
Yeah, that's actually something that Kiwi Kid was talking about. And Braum has risen in popularity very heavily since those small buffs to his laning phase. His roam is amazing, and we saw the effect that the slow from his Q can have, not only in level 1s, but also later into the game, pulling picks for the team.
Yeah, it was really critical in a lot of the late chases from CLG in their team fights in order to pick up those kills.
Yeah, he's also extremely good at protecting against multiple threats in a team fight for an AD carry. So if Apollo is having trouble, Braum laying down a huge slow field is a great zone control against melee threats, and then obviously the unbreakable.
And we'll see what they build around this one. Counterlogic Gaming, meanwhile, happy to play the exact same team comps. They say, all right, you're not allowed, at least in Italy. Don't care about the rest. Smithy's learned the Echo. We want to play it every single time. We are on 5.14 and will be through the rest of the playoffs here. So this is, you know, the whole giant shield Echo and all that stuff, in case you guys are wondering over at home. Still the same patch as last time around. And Smithy happy to play this champion.
Yeah. Incredibly high priority on the Echo for CLG, but I also think that's because they're putting more of an emphasis on counterpicking.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the huge power picks that are potentially in the meta right now, the fact that they've picked it in their first chance of picks in both of these games either displays that they want to pick more diverse things for the solo laners, or that Xmithy just doesn't have other champions.
Well, it just brings so much team fight power. You can see they even didn't pick the Gragas this time around, which is what a lot of people were thinking Smithy was going to go to, just because he's had so much success on it. And it was even banned in the first game, but this time around goes through and opts for Echo instead.
And weirdly, Impulse actually, despite the talk about carry top laners, they're playing the exact opposite style. Impact, one of the best top laners in North America.
Yeah.
Top lane carries becoming more and more common. They're like, no, you have your style. We have ours. Shen game 1, Maokai game 2.
And it's interesting that for the first time in 5 games, they themselves decide not to go with Shen, when it's been such a hallmark of their playoffs thus far.
Yeah.
And this is an incredibly CC-focused early composition. It's quite low damage. They're going to need to get a lot of damage in and put Gate probably on a slightly more carry role, unless they're going for a mid-game snowball.
Yeah, and Azir's banned, which was what Gate was able to have the biggest effect so far on. So,
you know what's weird? This comp looks like a Yasuo comp. As much as Xiao Xiao's not on this team anymore, these are all really good Yasuo synergy champions.
It's also really similar to an LMQ comp that they ran in the playoffs last year. This is probably a little bit off topic, but when they played in the third place game to come back on Curse and reverse sweep them, they had Braum, Maokai, Ori in like 3 games in a row, and Kha'Zix as their jungler, because it was just a death tank ball that rolled around. They could do something very similar here if they want to put Gate on Orianna, something he's played in the past.
Well, this is going to be interesting. We'll see if that ends up being that champion. Meanwhile, a couple more picks come down the line. Gnar comes through for Zion Spartan after seeing the Maokai. He wants that matchup even with the Olaf up. And also, after going down to Thresh, and it's just protect the Vayne.
Yeah, somewhat of a death ball, but honestly, this is lowish on damage. We'll see if CLG would need to find a way to get onto Vayne, otherwise that is a threat.
All right, so Orianna themselves.
CLG, they have so much AoE. It's not even like, as long as they get in the vicinity of Vayne, and then they're able to do Echo, Gnar, and Orianna. Vayne is great at navigating team fights and working around zones of control, but that is a huge amount of area of effect for her to try and deal with.
I would say on the spectrum of champions, though, none of them have point-and-click disables, which is a really big deal for being Vayne.
That's sort of the hard counterplay there.
Maokai's and Kha'Zix's and stuff are just like actually really difficult to deal with for her. So on the spectrum, I think is actually decent for Vayne. But you're right, it's all on Apollo, and he did not have a very good game 1.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to watch the choke points. Fighting in the jungle would be disastrous for them.
Definitely true.
Yeah. Zion this time around is the one to get the counter pick into the top lane, though. Gnar into Maokai, definitely favorable for him. Let's see if Zion will be able to take advantage of it. Rush on Lee Sin is going to have much more of an early presence. So, as usual, Impulse game, going to have a lot of eyes on Rush for the earlies.
Yeah, and this one is really going to be on Rush in the early game, more so than on the Evelyn game, where he did a lot of farming early on. He's going to be looking to make immediate impact in this one.
We'll see if he can make that happen over from Rush's side on the Lee Sin. You guys at home, keep your votes updated. Tweet hashtag TIP winner, hashtag CLG win to @LOL Esports. Let us know who you think's going to win this series. Counterlogic Gaming, they already took down game 1. They've got 2 more to go. Meanwhile, Impulse, once again, putting all their eggs in the Apollo basket. His Vayne is going to be well protected. Can he carry him out? Here we go with game 2.
And Freak, I just think it's so interesting that Impulse is falling back on Apollo as a carry threat so readily.
Yeah.
When really that was not the style they played at all with Xiao Xiao. Obviously, they had the 2 weeks to practice before quarterfinals, but they're really respecting and trusting Apollo to carry here. Vayne's not something he's played in the LCS, especially in the summer split. So this is bold.
Also, Impulse are going to have to get team fight victories. Not only is there a lot of weight on Apollo's shoulders to carry, but they do not have good siege. So, they have wave clear if they have to hold off on turrets and they want to try and split push with a Vayne or something like that. But it's going to have to be neutral objective control for Impulse. Let's see if they can get, you know, ward coverage around the Dragon early, try and start stacking those up. Whereas CLG are going to try and knock down turrets early here with double lift.
Most likely the case. And I was actually talking with Kiwi Kid before the show started, and he said, one, that he really wants to see Afremu play a lot of Thresh. He's been seeing him play in solo queue. He really respects it. He thinks he's very good at the champion. So he's happy to see him back on this one. But also, he was saying specifically, Thresh is a pretty good matchup in a Braum just because you have the ability to kind of mess with him and poke at him a bit. So as far as the matchup itself goes, I think CLG definitely favored in the 2-on-2. You guys said in the pregame, CLG's lane swap is also incredible. So early game might be very hard for Impulse.
Yeah, something we didn't get to touch on last game was the fact that Team Impulse managed to match CLG's lane swapping and not opt into that game. It was one of the main reasons that Team Impulse was able to pull ahead in the early game. That first match also had back-to-back jungle invades by CLG and had a very kind of impromptu, improvised early game, whereas this one seems a lot more standard and also not disrupted in any way. Maokai got to prep his camp with saplings. Rush got a very free start, pulling to give him the level 2.
Yeah,
and CLG is doing the double jungle.
The duo actually helping Rush out and giving him that leash. Whereas up top, double lift and Afremu won't be able to freeze just because they started the Krugs and probably start shoving that down early on Tristana. This should definitely be an early roam from Afremu.
Yeah, he's already recalling.
Looks like he's going for some wards.
And he was given full level 2, by the way. He took the entire set of the Krugs.
Rush have planned here? He did 2 small camps. And now they're going for an invade.
I think they're going to be late, though. I think they wanted to cut off CLG.
Well, this is their strong side, so they do have the Adrian support coming in. And we talked about Braum's level 1 threat with just the Q.
So much time wasted there. Adrian and Impact went to the mid lane, but Koboter was so far back already. Doublelift already pushing into this lane, making a lot of waves. And the thing is, Zion and Afro are already ready to defend the bottom turret, and they could get all this XP.
Yeah. Not able to get the gank off mid, not able to get the counter jungling. That camp, Smithy was able to get the wolves and get out in time. So CLG, once again, able to come out with early lead in the lane swap. Zion also on Gnar. Does have the range one to work with here for easy CSing. Very actually dangerous for Apollo. Afremu and Zion not going aggressive though because they don't have any deep wards. Not quite sure where Adrian is.
Defensive pink there. That'll make sure they can get down the river at some point. He fights the scuttle. Looks like life's good for him.
Xmithy actually did a good amount of farming in the early game, much different than game 1. He's got a 200 quick gold lead on Rush. So he has a little bit more freedom now to go around and gank if he chooses or extend his lead. One thing I do know is that CLG heavily respects Rush's Lee Sin. Whenever they've scrimped against Team Impulse, they always talk about how Rush can just GG them in like so many games because he's played Lee Sin against them. Maybe that's given them a certain level of comfort against it. In an interview, Rush said CLG doesn't know how strong his Lee Sin in Italy is, which pretty much gets said in every single interview Rush has. He just says, if they let me play Lee Sin, I'm going to win. But he has been allowed to play Lee Sin. And the early game, they missed on their one gank, and Xmithy's farming up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's another incentive to lane swap when you are facing an early game champion like Lee Sin, and especially a player like Rush. Confining him to the jungle. The lane's a lot more difficult to get an even scenario. Rush really likes to get the either 2-on-2 duo fight or even singling out the enemy jungler.
Oh, this is
if he
big
gets the
trouble
2 versus 1
Doublelift.
though, that's even better. Impact able to land a snare easily.
All right, Doublelift, how good are you getting away from this one? Rush staying off of the side. There's the rocket jump away.
Got the
Doublelift does have flash.
He's got a flash.
Can he dodge the Q? No! That's the first blood. Well done. Could not predict. And that is first blood for Rush.
Yeah, Doublelift was getting a little cheeky with his harassment under turret. Should not have really been in Twisted Advance range to begin with. But then the extension of that fight was just an outplay by Rush and an attempted clever flash by Doublelift that just wasn't quite executed properly.
Yeah, no vision there for Doublelift, and CLG able to delay the effect of Rush's early game Lee Sin with the lane swap, but eventually finds first blood there. That's able to bring back the gold to almost even though.
Yeah.
So still pretty worth for CLG.
Mid lane's winning really heavily right now. It's a 10 minion lead right now, about 200 gold worth. And it kind of goes that way down the line.
Yeah. Rush straight into the early brutalizer though, as usual for him. Always picking up his combat stats first, so he's going to look to fight once again. The only question is where.
Yeah, so much for the lane swap. Double lift without summoner spells needs the protection of a Thresh. So there.
He at least has items for now.
Yeah, he has the slight pickaxe advantage there, but Apollo got a lot of the...
Yeah, got a lot of farm.
So he's fine.
At least Vayne Brahm's not exactly that threatening, so double lift is okay here unless there's a crazy good dive that happens. Double lift should be able to let his cooldowns come back up without too much threat in this line.
Yeah. And, you know, judging where... Smithy going to go in for an invade as Rush sees him just in time, doesn't start the Braum. Pretty sure he should have seen the ward animation go there
He doesn't
as well.
know. He
doesn't know what color
it's a pink,
it is.
though, yeah.
I don't think he checked the inventory in time.
Right away.
So interesting there, yeah. Rush right now waiting around on Tri-Brush. Of course, he got spotted, so there's no reason for Zion to play aggressively.
Well, so the thing is, he's looking for a counter gank here. He just saw Smithy, so he's waiting around. Smithy, though, showing himself here. Rush knows there's no counter gank, goes over to do the Gromp instead.
Good flash by Gate, good pull into Adrian, actually. They nowhere to be seen. She'd already recalled. Adrian loses a lot of health. No dive quite available. But now that lane's going to get really difficult. It gives even more time for Double to stay safe here. Pickaxe versus Bilgewater Cutlass. Still not exactly a threatening lane to be against.
Definitely not. Laning phase is definitely slowed down a little bit here. Rush, though, finishes his Warrior enchantment. He's going to be looking to make a play. One of the big differences in this game is actually Pobelter is laning over Gate, which is quite impressive considering the attempted 4-man roam by Team Impulse. One of the big strengths of Orianna is the strong laning phase, but obviously Pobelter doing a nice job harassing this one.
Yeah, and this lane is all about farm. You know, Lulu versus Orianna.
Unlikely
exactly
to see
dangerous. Exactly. So Impulse actually taking advantage of the recall timers here for double lift. You know, Apollo coming back straight with his purchase. They're able to shove him out of lane and take the dragon because of it. So first blood and dragon over to Team Impulse.
And the matches are going better as well. When we last checked the first blood money, it was about 100 gold down for TIP. Now it's about 100 gold up. So things are evening out, which is kind of nice for them. We'll see if they can put any more pressure in, of course. There's still only one major damage threat come late game, so Impulse, I feel like, might need to get themselves much farther ahead than they are right now. See if that ends up being true. Rush clears away a ward in his jungle.
It's so interesting that that pink ward remained unkilled for Rush. He never checked to see if it was pink. And that's a high-value ward they're going to be getting in now. Almost lets them know that Rush will be kind of cheating the bottom side just because he's not in that blue side of his jungle.
It's definitely been the focus for CLG, both in the opening of the first game and in this game, trying to keep track of Rush, keep him down, jungle invading, some decent deep wards. The one in the bottom lane is actually pretty neat as well, because you very rarely expect the ward with sight on Krugs. And Lee Sin does have lane ganking.
Ooh, flash ult to use to buy some time to knock around Impact, but I don't think there'll be enough damage.
No.
Echo cannot reach, so flash used for just some damage. Impact low, but he's got teleport up.
Yeah, so even though the jungler, looks like he's circling around.
Yeah, I mean, they have the pink ward, so they could theoretically see a Lee Sin approach. It seems like since Smithy got stopped on the pink ward that...
There he finds it.
Imagine.
Should have found it.
He was looking at somebody else.
He's looking at Smithy.
Yeah.
He's blind.
No time for pink wards. He's going for a kill.
He walks right by him.
He's spotted. Well, this is still a flashless Gnar. Like, you make a good enough play. There's a flash kick and a Q. He's got it.
Oh my God.
Perfect play by Rush. He knew he could take it.
When you set your mind on something, Rush is going to do it.
Don't let your...
Walks through a pink ward.
Don't let your dreams be dreams, chat.
Walks through
Just do it. Walk past pink wards, walk past enemy junglers, walk straight up and kill him. All right.
And meanwhile, though, a fight in the bottom lane, and TP comes in for the recently healed off Impact. Good luck for CLG. Flash knockup comes through. They find Afromu. The help's coming through, but be careful because here comes Zion Spartan, and here comes Doublelift. The first kill comes through, and now Adrian regrets everything he's ever done in this game. Another kill comes through. CLG turns it right back around.
Yeah, that's matched teleports right there, but CLG had the superior 2-on-2. Honestly, the teleport of theirs came back later. The overall initiation of Team Impulse was a little bit slow in that, and absolutely they turn it right back around. The death doesn't really hurt Silent Spartan since his lane didn't get pushed. Really all it did was give more gold to Rush.
He's not exactly known for his late game, so Sightstone's in, Warrior Enchant's there. He can put some impact on the map still, but Rush might have a lot more work to do. CLG pretty firmly in the lead.
Smithy back with the protection of his pink ward. Let's see if this lane swap is able to find him. Maybe Adrian will take the time out of his busy day to clear that pink ward. Nope, goes right by it. And Apollo primed for a dive here. Echo does have ultimate for the dive as well.
It's going to make things hard.
You really have to be worried about a counter gank, though.
I mean, he's got so much deep wards, and he's got the Wolf Spirit as well. Smithy was able to smite the Wolf Spirit during the counter jungling, so he would know if anyone was even in the quadrant of the map. They still do not decide to go for it.
What? Oh, do it.
Well,
all right.
Things that should go through your head when you land a Lee Sin Q, and you're thinking about going to the enemy jungle. Do I have vision of the enemy team? The answer was no. All 5 people could have theoretically been there, and it would have actually been an easy collapse for CLG. If Rush had taken the Q.
All right. Of course. Let's see what else these guys can do. Gates are getting pushed around by Poether a little bit. His blue buff has been gone. Adrian wants in, just get the last hit here. Does not quite find any meaningful damage, but now Rush on the backside has his ultimate. He wants into this one. There's the reveal in for Doublelift. The double knockup comes through. Wow. Rush is still amazing at League of Legends. Wards hops in, can't quite get the damage, and now he's got to be real careful because the counter engage can come through. Echo with the 2-man stun. Double still getting the damage through. Ulti by Brown to buy some more time. They will stun up Xmithy if they keep the hits coming. They get some damage, but not nearly enough.
Yeah, look, it was all because of the early roam there from Gate. Gate coming up first means that CLG had to back off down in the bottom lane. 2 tanks going head-to-head. Not exactly going to result in a kill, but always fun to watch the blows.
Rush was so far ahead of the team there on that dive. He did everything right, but the rest of Team Impulse just couldn't follow through in time to secure those kills. And it just kind of a split off there by CLG. No, the time invested on the dive isn't necessarily punished. CLG ends up sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, Gate with the earlier roam does come at the cost of even more CS advantage for Pobelter, though.
Yeah.
So while Gate was able to move up, Pobelter, the lead in mid lane is going to be enormous.
35 right now, and only 13 minutes in. The actual gold value is significant.
If he can land that shockwave,
it's going to hurt people.
It'll be a game changer for CLG.
It's interesting to note, by the way, that despite the lane swap advantage from CLG and the kill and assist that Zion got from his earlier teleport, Impact's actually winning the minion game in that top lane. He's actually winning in gold as well, so that's honestly quite impressive by Impact. He got counterpicked too, then R came in after the Maokai.
It's definitely a favorable matchup. It's not a hard counter or anything.
No, of course not.
We actually have almost no hard counters in League of Legends.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
Yeah.
All right, well. Rush
Good
starting off the
coverage by
dragon.
Team Impulse here.
Yeah, well, CLG going to come check him out.
Ding ding.
Zion sees what's up.
Ding ding, not ready to fight.
Yeah, a little bit too much damage. All right, this actually is a great prep for CLG.
Thanks for starting it up.
Both AD carries are missing from this, but if the fight were to extend, Apollo would be there, and CLG doesn't actually know where Apollo is. So they're going to probably try and trade this dragon for a turret.
Yeah, it was kind of a bluff there, even though they don't have Bane in the area. The threat of Apollo coming down, able to be enough. Tristana up top, though. You leave her alone with the turret, it's going to go down pretty easily. It doesn't even have to use explosive.
He's trying to bounce as much as he can here.
I think just deny as many minions.
What he can, yeah.
I mean, it's not going to bounce, but you can kill off as many of those minions as you can.
All right, and that melee goes down. That'll be the last minion to suicide here. All is well now for Doublelift. That minion wave can be frozen. Likely will not, though, by impact.
Big for Doublelift to get solo experience and the farm, because he did have most damage dealt in the entire game last game on his Tristana, and the key member in that turnaround and victory in the last fight.
Honestly, Doublelift had a tremendous performance on Tristana just from a statistical perspective. All season, it's been the mid laners doing all the damage, and Pobelter was propositioned to do so with the Victor, but it was actually Doublelift who did 41.5% of the team's damage and did 975 damage per minute on Trist.
Jeez.
Which is, and that was without the help of any type of hyper carry aid like Ardent Sensor or Zeke's Harbinger or Lulu. It was really all Doublelift. He had a tremendous game.
Yeah, and that's only damage to champions, the turret killing power that she brings as well. Pobelter going to get some turret killing done of his own. Pretty good chunk off of the mid lane here.
Yeah, the slow burn of mid lane getting worse and worse. 43 minions. Just gets scarier for Gate. Even though the Lulu will be useful kind of no matter what, it just kind of sucks to not have a mid lane threat here, especially when the rest of your team are playing supports. Apollo still no kills to his name. Just a death, sadly, for him. Wasn't able to quite knock down the bottom outer turret either, though that one is a bit low. That's about half.
And from a team composition perspective, Team Impulse kind of needs to capitalize on this mid-game power spike. They've been able to get the 2 initial dragons, but Blade of the Ruined King completed on Apollo. They want to get the Lulu, Maokai, and Lee Sin in on the fights while they're still powerful, because CLG has all the potential AoE in those late-game team fights. Things could get messy if CLG maintains this type of gold lead and is able to sneak a dragon somewhere along the ways to prevent the 5 dragons to 0 snowball.
Yeah, that's why I was really highlighting the importance of the neutral objectives for Impulse. Because it's not like they can default to setting up a siege on one of these outer turrets. Until the outer turrets go down as well, they don't have a lot of territory to work with. So that dragon stacking, very important for them.
2 is good so far. They got a ways to go until they get any more on this one. Counterlogic Gaming sitting on a 2,000 gold lead via largely a great landing phase of Pobelter. And a turret lead thanks to Doublelift. Mid lane gonna dodge the damage.
He's a full needlessly large rod ahead of Gate.
That is definitely rough. Okay, getting pressured on this mid lane outer, likely to die. There comes the attempt for the stun. Smithy does not quite find Gate. A bit of a counterattack here by Gate, and here comes Rush, but he misses the Q.
Yeah.
How could he do that?
It only cost Pobelter his flash, and he made a miss. There you go. Smithy also used his E.
Fair point.
I mean, Miss Smithy.
Smithy dodged it, kind of. Landed that
Hit
one.
that one. Hey! And he ward hops to dodge a frickin' boomerang.
That is
so good at this game.
That is the value of wards for Rush. I mean, sights don't charge to stop 80 damage.
And it slows him.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Correction, it's like 100. It's a lot of damage, more than 80.
He's got armor.
Anyway, though,
close to right.
CLG do only have 1 outer turret left standing, so would expect some more focus down there after taking down the mid lane. They now try and get their vision in. With mid lane turret down, it opens up so many possibilities for the jungle plays.
Good amount of damage there on Zion Spartan, and Rush is approaching.
Yeah. He's definitely, he had to have been seen by that ward in Impulse's own tribal.
I don't know if
set.
Zion could safely hold this tower. He knows it.
All right, Impact slowly getting his way back into this one, even with Smithy around. Not going for the fight
Not
just
even
yet.
gonna get that
Turret's
free
very
gold
low.
Ward expires.
I think he was going to time out fast enough that he didn't know if he could get it. Rush waiting in
I
the
wonder if
wings.
CLG's going to try and defend this. It's a 2v2 with their turret.
Definitely.
It'll be dicey.
Definitely don't want a mini Gnar for this 2 versus 2.
Impact doing the same thing. He's going to try to deny some farm.
Rush could 100% a mini Gnar at this point.
You can see the threat. Oh, that was a big hook. But the turret still stands, so no chance to go in. I know.
Only like 2 more autos on that turret as well.
You know, if instead of Aris Blade, he went for like a dagger,
Again,
the turret would have died.
Afromove's genius going to waste.
He'd also
down
have
there.
450 less gold.
Hey.
He's gained from the average plate.
It's okay, but he would have gotten 2 kills and paid it off. I'm wrong. I'm just kind of trolling here. But the bottom lane turret goes down. Counter Logic Gaming have knocked down the outer ring.
Just in time for Dragon as well. 45 seconds. They can go try and set up the vision around that Dragon. And CLG, this would be the one where they want to interrupt Impulse's control.
Yep. They've just hit a lot of really important power spikes. Death Cap completed by Pole Belter. Static Shiv for Double Lift. They are ahead of the curve as far as those items are concerned. Their only struggle would probably be killing Impact's Maokai if he can get a good initiation off. But Maokai is top lane right now without teleport. He's got to walk down manually, which kind of diminishes the flank potential. I think this is absolutely a Dragon CLG should be posturing for and trying to take.
They've got to buy 30 seconds. That's the disconnect between Dragon spawning and teleport being up. I don't think Impulse have the ability to easily do that. There's looks like really no wave in the mid lane, so not even a trade of objectives possible on that side of the map.
Rush at least could go for the steal here. He does have everything in his kit available.
They're getting the Dragon pretty low. This is absolutely a steal.
Sin can go, he gets it! But now, how can he get anything else? Smith in the front line, pop steal, the heals back up. Adrian has got to run with a shock on him, and he's going to go down. It's a 1-for-1 though. Vane's still getting some hits in, but there comes Gnar. Looks for a lot. Rush can only do so much, but oh my god! A double kill, and Apollo's still going. He's almost got the stacks on him though. He picks up his third. It's going to be close. A triple kill before he goes down the double lift. Impact tries. He gets the fourth of the fight. And it's time for the wet noodle fight in the top lane.
Let's see who's really the best top lane
trying to make the big plays. Here he goes. The Hyper still dealing damage. Is a coward and runs away. Impact's the king of the hill.
Well, the double buff helped Impact out a little bit. And the Frozen Heart. But honestly, that fight was a absolute bloodbath. And the most critical thing about that, beside the trade of 4 kills each, is the Dragon. 3 Dragons to 0, not having the 6% attack damage and ability power for CLG in what was a very close team fight will be even more important later on in the game.
Let's take a look at this again, because we keep talking about the few seconds where there's a numbers advantage. Impulse, once again, 5 versus 4. That was actually even 2 full seconds there before Zion shows up. He comes in at the end, though, is able to get the kill, and is able to jump into the pit.
And a couple more things about this fight. Apollo was pretty much untouched for most of it, and Rush is a wizard on Lee Sin right there. Zion Spartan thought he was going to be closing him down, but he managed to juke all the way around and still contribute damage at the end of the day. Yeah, triple kill for 180 carry, double kill for the other, but considering it's a protect the Vayne composition, Apollo getting the 3 kills there is tremendously important for Team Impulse.
I mean, yeah, Dragon stacking, huge to get that number 3. The movement speed, not too shabby as well for Impulse.
Yeah, both these 80 carries now on 2 completed items is a big deal. Apollo did not have anything but a Zeal. Yeah. So to do more work than Double Lift was really important there.
CLG still with the gold lead, though.
Very true.
And Double Lift is now got his crit multiplier for Tristana. Pole Belter not able to carry that last team fight.
3-man Shockwave as well.
It was great. I mean, again, you want to a few seconds of a numbers advantage is just so much.
Yeah.
In terms of these mid-game team fights where it's really swingy. And Impact, not only was he there earlier, but he had the 2 completed giant items. Frozen Heart is just such an efficient item buy with the giant AoE attack speed slow this stage in the game. Reduces so much of CLG's damage.
And the weird thing is actually CLG itemizing a little bit magic resist heavy. You're seeing Merc Trez already done here for Smithy. You've got, I think probably the makings of an Aegis are likely next for one of these guys' inventories. Whereas the Frozen Heart Rush for Impact really just denies a lot of what Double Lift wants to do. So we can kind of see the defensive itemization also allowing certain players to do better than they would otherwise. Definitely relevant here. Still no death cap yet for Gate. That was done for the last fight already for Bobelter. The value of minion farm, of course, showing itself here. Impact taking a lot of damage.
Yep. Zion making use of that Black Cleaver. Oh, Echo.
He really wants in. A little bit of damage comes through, but Impact has nowhere else to go. He gets the Summoner heal. He will survive the explosive charge. Not a big problem. Zion low, but close to Mega Gnar.
Yeah, they still used a lot to keep him alive. That's a Braum ult, an Exhaust, and a Lulu ultimate. Whereas it pretty much just cost Double Lift a shot backwards.
And so, Zion, most of his health bar.
Yeah, that was fun.
Getting it back up now off the recall. Scuttle goes over to Counter Logic Gaming. And they remain 2.8 thousand gold up. Make that 2,000 as the mid lane turret goes down. Impulse finally trading some of these. Yeah. Still a gold disparity.
Each of those outer turrets is huge for Impulse, though. Not only to get that global gold back in order for themselves, but also open up the terrain in which they can actually have those team fights. Remember, they really want to avoid the small corridors versus CLG comp. So more outer turrets being down gives them more options. And they can just wait till the next dragon pops up. Go for number 4.
See what they can get for themselves. 1 minute and 30 seconds. Posturing for position and vision. Gonna be what we're gonna be watching for here. TIP's vision, none of it really passes the river. CLG actually have a couple of half-decent wards. There's one on the backside of mid that helps them a slight bit. But so far, be the team with the most amazing deep vision. We'll see if they can get that in the next 60 seconds.
No Evelyn in this game, no Shen. The deep vision has been a slight bit deprioritized when compared to the last game. Also because the outer turrets have been taken somewhat systematically. It hasn't been very much about forcing team fights or getting turret dives. This game is really coming down to this ever-imposing 5th dragon and Team Impulse trying to take advantage of the
Zion
at this point
cornered,
in the game.
and he's exhausted. Can't go mega. Uh-oh.
Well, unless he makes the big play with his teleport there. The kick is already down, but Vayne's got condemned. Nowhere for Zion Spartan to go. What a good timing for a kill. He's dead for the duration of Dragon respawning.
Yeah, talk about the lack of deep warding, and then you split push and get too far ahead of yourself. Rush has so much mobility, they're able to catch him.
Ooh, CLG did not go for the Baron rush themselves. It would have been the other team, the rest of the team being very far away from it.
There is Impulse pink ward on it as well.
Yeah.
This,
they look for mid, get nothing.
This is a very big moment in the game, though. The death timer on Zion Spartan, while it's close to Dragon, is desynced by 3 seconds. So if Team Impulse starts the Dragon and CLG wants to start a fight, Zion could teleport in, but again, it would create that very small timing window of a numbers advantage, which is so important in these team fights you mentioned, but they're getting closer and closer to the late game now.
Plus coming out of the fountain, you have no rage.
They dodge the hook. The True Bolt's coming in towards
early for
double lift.
CLG.
A lot of damage coming in. There's Impact. Now who's going to go down? Rush staying alive. The Q comes back in. He goes for Afro move. There's 2 kills so far. The shotgun turns a bit around, but it's 3 kills picked up. CLG with a bat fight.
Zion revives, but not enough time there. The teleport channels and 2 members of CLG already dead. Easy sweep there for Impulse. That's going to be Dragon number 4, unless there's some crazy, ridiculous boomerang steal.
That was a very poor call by CLG in the moment. The Dragon was the objective, and they were already cutting it close with whether or not Zion Spartan could make it into a Team Impulse forced fight. CLG forced a fight way earlier than they had to, even to begin with. The teleports were obviously matched before Zion Spartan was even alive.
They thought she was alone.
And they didn't have the perfect number. Like, even if she is alone, it's a Vayne with stealth up. Like, they didn't have a pink ward to stop those things. The rest of Team Impulse arrives, Impact zones out. Zion came in behind, but he realized it's a lost cause and never gets in on the fight.
The timing was bad, the prep was bad, even the area that they chose to fight in was bad. Again, so much open area for Vayne to move around. Big win there for Team Impulse. And after that, they're able to regroup almost all the gold difference. So they're set up very well.
This puts a lot of threat in the game now. Dragon 5 is only 4.5 minutes away, but it's right as Gate and Impact start being smaller damage threats. As defenses come in, those guys become less and less of an issue, and it becomes more and more about Apollo for the fight coming in 4 minutes.
Yeah, and he's still going for not a hyper late game Vayne build, but a very move speed heavy kind of take over the game type build. Ghost Blade completed from his Brutalizer. He's going to be very, very fast, which is critical since, as we mentioned, CLG doesn't have a single point and click to slow down the Vayne. If he is playing these fights optimally, he could wreak havoc.
The first 6 seconds of that battle is going to be so much damage with Lightning, the Yoma's move speed, and the attack speed. CLG waiting on the sides. Impulse have to be a bit careful. They have all ultimates on both sides.
Yeah, they're trying to draw them into the center of the lane. CLG did do a pretty decent job of getting vision control of the Baron area.
Yeah, and it's still a tremendously close game. It's actually in CLG's benefit to try and get picks as long as they don't overexpose themselves somewhere. The gold is close, and the 5th Dragon hasn't given amazing power. It's Impulse because Double shows himself.
Bit of CC on Double Lift, Shotgun catches the few. Gate's still safe in the back line, and no stun comes out. Now Meganar comes in, he finds Adrian, but Apollo is still safe. A lot of damage done to both front lines here, and Adrian cannot find enough damage to get, enough room to get damage in, rather Apollo. And we still trade back and forth with no kills coming through. I'm still watching for Vayne, as well as Double Lift Tristana.
By himself. Can they land a
White
slow?
finding targets. Gate misses the Glitter Lance.
Nobody going down right there. Good disengages by both tanks.
Yeah,
Adrian and Zion both escape.
you'd want to look at who exposed more summoner spells and ultimates in that fight. I mean, every ultimate used from CLG.
Impulses are lower cooldown.
Pretty much every ultimate for Team Impulse, but a slightly lower cooldown. Gate saved his summoner spells entirely. There's still a flash on Apollo, so he was hardly threatened whatsoever.
3 flashes saved by Impulse.
That's the biggest thing is the flash on Apollo, whereas Doublelift will have neither summoner spell for the next fight. But remember, before that skirmish broke out, CLG put in the work to gain this vision advantage around Baron. Adrian's going to go take it out, though. It does cost Gate a huge chunk of his life.
That's something that CLG can threaten. Lulu's a big part of the team composition. Unless she can stay safe, she might have to go back and heal. Half HP Lulu's not the most threatening champions.
Yeah, you want to be at full HP so that you can use all of your defensive spells on your carries rather than wasting them on yourself.
But it gives CLG enough room to once again control Baron Nashor. There is no vision outside of blue trinket usage for Team Impulse.
We're also potentially going to see an Aegis-free game in this one. Looks like Afram was actually going for the Harbinger because he wants Doublelift to be able to take out people in shorter windows of time, and they're not really respecting the magic damage that Gate and Impact are going to bring to the fight. I actually kind of like that decision.
I would like the extra crit for Doublelift because then he can just rush into his Last Whisper right now and peek really hard.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what his next item goes for. If it's another Cloth Armor or if it's an Amplifying Tome, we'll know which way he's going. Frozen Heart would hurt Apollo. Zeke's would help Doublelift.
And honestly, as long as you're on the topic of whether or not you should go Zeke's or Harbinger on the support in this game, I think Adrian should do the same thing.
Oh, I'd rather Gate do it.
Gate could do it as well. Do the old Alex Each, build the Harbinger as your next item.
On mid lane Lulu, I definitely love Harbinger. Especially since he already has the main AP core items.
Right. Death Cap plus Zeke's is actually a crap ton of ability power.
For the purpose of this composition, though, it seems like Team Impulse should be going towards it. No look of that yet, not even the start of one.
Speaking of no look, almost all the wards expiring for CLG. They're going to have a hard time renewing those. Only one pink ward left on the map and a single green. There in the mid lane left.
Only 2 Sightstone charges left on Smithy and Afro.
So they're going to have to go back, and the lack of wards are going to cost them recalls.
And it's 50 seconds until Dragon is up at this point for 5th Dragon.
Both teams should actually be moving their vision over to that side of the map. 40 seconds, they have to do that. Plus, this is the optimal time to take the Scuttler. This is a very important Rift Scuttler. You'll have this Shrine speed boost for that fight. That's gigantic. They're actually going to leave it.
And well, here's what's interesting though, is Impulse can choose Dragon or Baron, and CLG can't give either away cleanly. If you give away Dragon for Baron, you're screwed. If you give away Baron for Dragon, you're also screwed.
Definitely.
CLG is going to have a hard time controlling both.
All right, huge Rift Scuttler. The speed boost will be up almost the entire duration.
Yeah, they've got a minute of vision now after Dragon spawns. CLG are there first.
In this situation, I think the Dragon is far more important than Baron. The first Dragon and the 5th Dragon are both super important at 34 minutes. I think the Baron would just be a secondary objective. It's definitely about the Dragon, and you can see both teams are on the same page.
Gold dead even here heading into this fight.
Impact his home guard.
Yeah, he's actually going back to base for the home guard TP, which is the correct play.
They
Although
see
he doesn't get the flank behind them.
But he might get into the front line. Here comes the E in, and who's going to be taking the damage here? Shotgun catches only Adrian, and Apollo goes for damage. He's got a lot of hits onto Smithy. Impact so far is okay. Pobelter kills off Adrian. That's 1 kill picked up. There's a disengage of double kills. Lee Sin falls, and finally the trade. But he goes down. The triple kill. Pobelter doing all the work in this one. And the slow comes in towards Impact. Will they go for any more, or will it be the Dragon? It's going to be at least the team fight, a 3-for-1 for CLG.
That fight was all about the front line for CLG. Apollo was trying to zip around. He had all the move speed on Vayne, but he could never get into the priority targets, and it allowed CLG to set up the front line with the Orianna shields and just get their damage off in a safe fashion. Front line taking all the threat, and Tip just couldn't get in there.
Plus, they know that Impact doesn't have teleport now, so they switch over to Baron. And they're going to have to walk all the way up. CLG able to stop the 5th Dragon as well as pick up Baron.
Oh man, Impulse just were not able to pinch Baron to keep CLG honest. CLG get the Dragon fight, they get the Baron afterwards off of winning it, and Counter Logic Gaming now back in the lead.
Yeah, that was This is such a series right now. Both games have been really close. This game has been even closer. That last fight.
Not able to utilize the home guards to their advantage. Plus then Afro move starts it off by getting the hook. So they just started Dragon. Rush was on the other side. Smithy as well is going to zone Apollo, and he actually gets a pretty good ult here. Rush goes in for the kick and kicks him over.
But Smithy just ults out.
Ults right back out. Double lift stays safe the entire time. Poe Belter on the fed Orianna stays safe the entire time. Rush not able to kick a high priority target over to Vayne for the execution. Smithy being able to ult right back out, and you know, it's all about double lift and Poe Belter being able to DPS the entire fight there.
Yeah, really, none of them taking damage. And it's the respect from all the AoE that COG has that prevented Apollo from getting in for the big time damage. Also the fact that he has no Last Whisper, no Infinity Edge. He had that mid-game power spiking build, but their 5th Dragon has been cut off. So now they are playing actually really far from behind. COG, I think, has a massive advantage right now, assuming they play the fights properly and don't give Vayne or Maokai a flank.
Got a ton of siege power. Mid lane tier 2 is gonna go down. You've got shields for a Tristana. Good luck getting through her. 1,000 damage crits on minions. And they're right back in.
They got the Harbinger as well, so if Doublelift gets the right proc time, it's going to be lights out for whoever he hits.
Oh man, yeah, it's going to be pretty rough, certainly. Mid lane inhibitor now down. Half HP on that turret. Baron buff still going to last for about a minute, I think. And they can try again. Here comes the new minion wave. Hooks looked for Afro, not quite going to find him. Push one more time in. Goodbye turret. Into the inhibitor they go. Impulse could not possibly stop this one. They've got to back out and wait. And now an inhibitor is dead, and that will come back after Dragon respawns and at the same time that Baron comes back up. Very clutch timings there. CLG will continue to have map control.
Yeah. That might be the breaking point there for CLG, not being able to take that fight. Very hard for this kind of squad to come back in the game without a misstep from CLG. Yep. Impulse are going to have to use a mistake from CLG against them. They want to turn this back around.
Last game with Baron buff, Team Impulse was in this exact spot on the map. They overdove, their AD carry took turret shots, and they lost the advantage. Not today for CLG. Controlled push, don't think about diving. Team Impulse wasn't in the right position, so really an entirely different situation. But CLG playing safe, going for inhibitor number 2.
Look at all these. Go. Wow, so much damage. There comes the engaging, the diving, Impact taking so much damage. Zion Spartan hops away, double gets the first kill. There's the re-engage by Adrian, gets pulled right back in. He goes down, a double kill for Double Lift. Another turret goes down. What else can he find? He won't quite kill off Rush, but he will get the second inhibitor.
Yeah, 2 inhibitors down really easy. Just blew up Impact as he got baited in for his Twisted Advance. You could tell Team Impulse was kind of lost for things to do right now.
Oh, the Flash Meganar, and they catch up to him. And they're going to drop down Rush, and now how much exactly can Apollo do? Looks like not nearly enough. More damage coming out from the team. Counterlogic Gaming trying to pick off Gate. They go back to the turrets here, and it's going to be Nexus turret number 1, Nexus number 2, and game number 2. Counterlogic Gaming are 1 win away from their first ever North American LCS final.
How different is this from the other CLG splits? Never have they finished above 3rd in the playoffs. The closest they've ever come was 1-0 up against TSM in a semifinal, and that's back when they played best of 3s and they lost the next 2. So now they are more positioned than ever to make an NALCS finals.
Yeah, and Team Impulse with their backs against the walls now. You think now they finally revert back to Impact on a carry? Try and get Apollo on Sivir and speed boost the team?
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the last few games they played, and aside from a single Rise game against Team 8, where they let him first pick Rise when he was the best champion of the game, Impulse have played nothing but fairly tanky, supportive top laners, and just over and over and over again, playing a bunch of Kog'Maws and Vaynes and stuff on
If they're going to continue in this vein, then I think that they do need to take out the team fight jungle here, the Echo tank jungle. Really big presence from Smithy, even if he's not able to make a lot of early game moves.
Yeah.
When they do finally meet up.
the grouping potential of the Echo has been very clutch. He's getting some great stuns off in team fights. He's a frontline threat, and he's been zoning off carries in team fights. Like, it is a big pick, but then there's a lot of other things you can point to, too. Impulse has their hands full right now.
Yeah, Impulse have a lot of things they could improve. I do think they need more threats in the composition. We'll see if that ends up happening in Game 3. But for now, we're going to send it down to our analyst desk for a deeper dive into CLG's 2-0 start into the series.
Thank you, Freak. And I like the point about the single threat comps. We're going to get to that, but I do want to work through the game chronologically. We saw pretty big CS discrepancies in the top lane in favor of Team Impulse and in the mid lane in favor of CLG. And I kind of want to dissect how those came about in these individualized matchups.
The one in mid lane, I think, actually had a really large impact. You know, CLG, when they got Pobelter, they're like, this is the damage that's going to show up to the fight. So if you give him this large CS advantage, it pays off. Gate, in the regular season, he ended up being 12 out of 14 at CSD at 10, being down almost more than anybody else. I think Shifter was actually he's 14th. He was dead last. That's right. Gate was dead last. Shifter was number 12. So what they did is they exploited that. They sent Smithy mid one time, got the flash off of the Pobelter Shockwave, and Pobelter just kept winning, not even trades. He just kept harassing him, kept throwing the Q and the W, clearing the wave, and simultaneously poking him down. So it was honestly big misplays there by Gate because he seemed like he was trying his best to exert pressure, but it's almost impossible to do on a Lulu that's playing defensively. So it was very, very strange, but the lead that actually manifested was snowballed from there. And the Maokai was pretty much off of lane swap and some good catching of the farm, but that actually ultimately starved Apollo of some CS later on.
Right, so when we look at this mid lane matchup, Kiwi, Lulu, he's now been on that champion twice here. Going down in CS, we saw it in a few team fights where he was just kind of dancing around on the back line. He didn't feel useful.
Yeah, Lulu is known as a very safe pick and doesn't have that many counters, but Ori is actually something that can not only harass it, but do well against that. So you can shield the poke and you can most likely out farm her, as I'd say you can do camps a lot faster. So it was a great pick by them, but also Lulu really does nothing except just shield, as I said earlier, and the only thing they have is a single threat comp in Vayne. And honestly, when you watch the games, TIP aren't really making that many mistakes. It's just that they're just getting out farmed, and they should feel pressure to make plays, and you're not getting enough. Like, Rush had some great kills early, and maybe they weren't that great. Maybe it could have been attributed to CLG's kind of greediness.
CLG on your monitor now discussing their strategies for Game 3. I mean, starting out 2-0, they've got to have a lot of confidence, but this does point to Tip needing to make a change here, because what's working for CLG is working. And I want to go back to this kind of single threat idea here, because a lot of weight is being put on Apollo's shoulders. It didn't work out in Game 1. It didn't work out in Game 2, although he did play pretty fantastically here in Game 2. Let's not forget.
Yeah, his positioning in team fights, he's playing out of his mind. But both AD carriers are playing really highly this entire series. I did expect to see the Victor here instead of the Lulu. When we were going through Champions Select, when they banned the Azir, we thought CLG was going to take it, but then I really expected Tip to pick it up instead of the Lulu, because I feel like that's what they need. They need that wave clear. They need that instantaneous wave clear. And then paired with the Braum, when I saw Braum first pick, Braum Victor is amazing at wave clearing and staving off sieges, because he just stands in front, you're not going to do any damage, and then you just instantly clear.
Yeah, I'm going to expect to see, well, I think CLG is going to stick to the bans, and Azir will definitely be banned. So I think we're going to see maybe early pick Victor by TIP. CLG didn't really favor it, as we saw, as they didn't first pick it as well. So maybe we might see it late, but I feel we will not definitely see Lulu.
Right, it makes you wonder whether or not this points to a lack of confidence that the team has in Gate and his ability to play, or even his own confidence in playing other things. Why are they coming back to this Lulu over and over again? And if he isn't comfortable moving off of that, and they do need another carry threat, do they look towards Impact in the top lane, say, enough of the tanks, let's get him onto something that can really roll?
I feel like his best bet is probably get him a Gnar so he can have the best of both worlds and actually have split push pressure. I think if you even let Olaf up against it is fine, or ban Olaf. That's a big thing this series, that I'm like, okay, they're letting Zion kind of get whatever champion he wants, no problem, and then he'll get counter picks sometimes, and that's actually very alarming, because when you have the Gnar into the Maokai, you're going to have a really good time. And then they keep doing that over and over again, and they don't really save Impact, and they're putting him on these tanks. I don't want to see that happening again. I want to see more threats. I want to see TIP have more avenues to win the game.
Yeah, well, and normally when you think about Tip, Kiwi, we think of Rush as being one of the huge threats.
Yeah.
He did manage to secure the Lee Sin for himself this time around, but the Nidalee being banned out in this series, I do feel is hindering them in their ability to present an extra threat.
Yeah, I feel the most impact will go as like Nara, as you said, but he might pull out a Rumble. But I think if I was in their shoes, I would go back to the Shen. They played Shen 3 games against us. I know they play a lot of Shen during scrims. They're really comfortable with it. Honestly, they had a really sizable lead the first game. I think if I were them, I would pick Shen again and have a threat mid and see how it goes.
All right, some things to look forward to. CLG are just one victory screen away from playing in the finals at Madison Square Garden. After this break, we'll jump into Game 3 to see if they can get it done. Don't go anywhere.
Putting all their eggs in the Apollo basket. His vein is going to be well protected. Can he carry him out? Here we go with game 2. Like, you make a good enough play. There's a flash kick and a Q. He's got it!
Oh my God!
Perfect play by Rush. He knew he could take it. Looks for a lot. Rush can only do so much, but oh my God! A double kill and Apollo's still going.
The flash. Fight.
Coming. Watch out for Oriana. Watch out for Oriana.
Wait for Oriana. I'm slow. I'm tanky.
Kill front line.
I'm Oriana.
That's good. Front line.
I'm stunning. I'm stunning.
Keep it. Lee Sin. I'm exhausting Bane when he comes out. Exhaust. I exhausted him. Play.
Zion Spartan hops away. Double gets the first kill. There's the re-engage by Adrian. Gets pulled right back in. He goes down a double kill. Counter Logic Gaming are 1 win away from their first ever North American LCS final.
Welcome back, everyone, to Semifinal Saturday and Game 3 between CounterLogic Gaming and Team Impulse. Kiwi Kid, I'm coming to you. You're down 0-2 in a series. Everything's on the line here for Team Impulse. What is your best advice for them going into Champion Select?
You gotta ignore what's on the line and just take it as a best of one. Just 3 best of ones you need to win 3 times. I mean, okay, don't take it like that, but just take it as a best of one and go back to the Shen comp. Impact, you're amazing on Shen, or TIP, you're amazing playing with Shen. Just stop playing the Lulu Shen. And it puts so much pressure on Apollo. And I'm not saying Apollo can't play it. It's just that you're just getting out-farmed. And I don't even think the most of the pressure is on Apollo. It's mostly on the jungler and Shen to make plays while you only have this single threat. And you know what? You just need to go back to that. And you had a huge lead game 1. It just kind of was thrown after we saw the Olaf TP. You know, we can forget that Apollo. But yeah, just go back to the Shen.
Yeah, and Apollo's having a really good series. And if they don't go with the Shen change, then I want to see them go with a Lulu. I want something other than this Lulu. I want to see something else from Gate because right now he's not keeping Pobelter down, and when they're not able to keep Pobelter down, it's a Pobelter and Double Lift duo in these team fights that is just destroying them. Double Lift in this series is 14, 3, and 14 with 2 games of Tristana. And Tristana only gets worse as the game scales, and they're buying Zeeks to synergize with that. So that we're not even reaching basically Double Lift's full potential on these champions if the game goes later. So they need another threat to at least kill one of them very quickly. We had the CC with Maokai and Shen in those previous games, but I want to see more that can reach these 2 guys.
Yeah, Dulles is playing extremely well. He's finding farm. It seems like he's communicating. I don't know who's calling it, but yeah, he's saying, hey, I'm just going to get this farm up top. You guys just play safe because, of course, we know ADCs don't take teleport. And COG, you know, is really revolving around Double Lift. We thought we would see more stuff like maybe around Zion, but it just happens to be the focus on Double Lift, and let's just see what happens.
And that seems to be CLG's style. Double Lift actually averages 35% of CLG's farm post 15 minutes. So they funnel so much into him, and that's actually second most of all AD carries. So,
it's kind of interesting. Keep looking up at like the 25 to 30 minute range, and all of a sudden he's created a gap. Whereas till that point, it didn't really seem like he had that much of a CS lead. Well, with that, we're going to send it over to our casters for the play-by-play. As we go, though, Afram will explain CLG's strategy for success.
For us, playing against them, it's very important that we be able to shut down Rush, especially just because, you know, he plays those high aggressive junglers, early game junglers, Evelyn, Italy, Lee Sin, and he likes to just accelerate the game at a fast pace. And I would definitely say he's one of their key players, as well as Impact, who's very consistent and also formidable in the sense that he has a ton of experience in playing League of Legends. So he definitely adds to Rush's gameplay.
Yep. They've done that in the first 2 games. They invaded Rush's jungle early, game number 1. They got really deep wards at like the 5-minute mark even inside his own jungle on number 2. So they have their priorities straight.
Yeah, they kept Rush down. In the first game, it was at the cost of Xmithy, and in the second game, they did it much more cleanly. I mean, they did have a stronger second game than they did first game. Just carry
Then Rush
the
gets
last
that
one.
look in his eye, and he's like, Zion, I'm coming for you. Just makes a beeline to him at the turret.
Absolutely, and I actually do have to agree with Kiwi Kid, by the way, in terms of like playing the Shen. You talked about Game 2 being much better for CLG than Game 1. Game 1 went so well for Impulse because they kept finding fights to force, and a lot of that was specifically Shen Stand United's. Impact was the reason, I would say his involvement was the reason they had gotten ahead throughout those early games, and hopping off that did not seem to help Impact or even Impulse as a team much at all. So we'll see if there's any adaptation coming into this one. Same 3 bans every single time from CLG, but this time Tristana does come through from Impulse.
Yeah, so double AD carry ban versus a double jungle ban. I like the Azir ban this entire series from CLG as well. Gate, not that much experience on the LCS stage, really hasn't shown to have much of an influence over the game on Lulu, and it is one of the key contributors to Impulse not having any backline access. Pobelter and Double Lift have been able to pretty much free hit in the majority of team fights, and a lot of that comes because Impulse is playing protection team comps instead of full dive team comps that they have become known for.
The thing is, you have to pick for your player, right? And with Azir banned, I haven't seen Gate. We haven't had very many games, obviously.
He played Victor.
His Victor was.
Well, he lost lane to Phoenix because Phoenix is a better player than him, but he at least had a
I want to see him play Ori.
He didn't just lose lane, though. He got smashed out.
No,
at
that's true. That's
4
true.
minutes or something.
Played Ori against Gravity.
I want to see him play Ori again. I mean, Ori is a champion, while it is protection in some situations, can create backline access.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, they are going to go right back to the Maokai. So Impulse will have a strong team fighter from the top lane.
I'm not sure what made them so afraid to play more Shen, but Impulse decides that they really, really want the Maokai. And it's also weird that they're picking a lot of these champions so early, because Maokai is not contested. It's not something that Zion wants to play, or that I'm pretty sure his team wants him to play either. He hasn't played it at all in the back half of the split.
Maybe they'll have a good counter pick here for Gate, because that's the only thing they got left.
in the past, Team Impulse have been very vocal about not really caring what the other team brings, just playing champions they are good at, say they can outplay the enemy team with that. But at the same time, then why would they be waiting for counter picks? It's a strange... Honestly, Team Impulse's drafts have not been strong this game. I think it's because they are somewhat hindered by what Gate is playing and what Gate is comfortable playing on this stage.
I think you might be right. So Doublelift does not get Tristana, goes one peg down and says, I'll be another really good turret-killing long-range AD carry. I'll be Jinx, who resets after team fights go well. So Double should be just fine. We'll see what the rest of his team comp is. Afro gets to play Alistar finally.
Yeah. As much as Adrian doesn't like playing Alistar, still considers it to be broken and hates playing against it more. So,
first pick. What is Impulse going to go for?
Honestly, looks like Comfort here.
Back to Comfort. So, you know, a mix of game one and a mix of game two. Game one, they rush pick the Alistar. Game two, they banned it and picked the Braum away. Now they've got Braum one more time. Some of the Kog'Maw. I do like Braum Kog. I think it's pretty darn strong. And this is actually a front line that can kite in and out, though, with Braum being able to go in and back. It should be nice. CLG pretty much is playing the same stuff every single time. Once again, Gnar into Maokai. They feel good about that.
That kiting is very important against the Jinx, too. If Doublelift gets a reset, this could be disastrous. Because once again, CLG brings so much team fight. Everybody has AoE on the CLG squad.
Yeah, I like the Ori pick there from CLG as well. I feel like if Impulse wanted to close out their team composition, they should have done Ori in place of the Braum. But maybe that's not a pick they're prepping anyway. They can just go with the Lulu and get another protection-style team comp, because that would probably make the most sense at this point.
Yeah. I really do want to see a Victor.
Yeah, you might get it. It's more damage than the Lulu, and it can create some more threat.
All right, there we go. Impulse get Victor Braum. This is, again, just so hard to push against, I feel like CLG. They might lose some of that push lead they've been having in the other games. Impulse finally run a big threat in the mid lane here. Impact is still on a tank. Rush still gets to play a big playmaking early game champion.
He's definitely going to have to make it count this time. Keep track of the early game wards as well to see if they can scout where the lane swap will head to.
Logic Gaming, just running the same comps over and over and over again. They feel just fine. They have not had to change up a single thing. They've probably played about 10 different champions total in this series. That's probably slightly off, but...
I mean, you could probably say that about both teams, right?
That's,
they're staying pretty similar on their champion picks.
Yeah, every player's played about 2 different champions. I think
across 3 games, that's
played
going
3.
to be true.
Yeah, you can't really get much farther. I just realized the point's not very good anymore. Thank you for just taking that one away from me. But all right, stylistically at least, these teams fairly similar. We finally see a Victor mid instead of a Lulu. That is the one, I would say, big departure. We'll see if that's enough for Impulse here. It's going to be game 3 here, CLG on match point, and you guys at home tell us which team's going to come out on top. Tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag CLG win or the hashtag TIP win. It seems like Impulse needs it now more than ever. Down 2 games. They need to complete the reverse sweep. Counter Logic Gaming, if they win this one, they at least dodge the first round of the North American Regional on the trip to Worlds. We'll see if they can win the playoffs themselves. Here we go, game 3, match point Counter Logic Gaming.
This is the moment that CLG has to deliver if they want to be in the finals at Madison Square Garden against the winner of TSM and Team Liquid. And to your point, Freak, about the team stylistically staying about the same, one improvement that Team Impulse has gotten this game, even though they don't have tremendous backline access on the opponent, their ability to kill the front line is vastly improved. Victor plus a Kog'Maw can shred pretty much any tank when you combine the 2 of them together.
Except that first pick, Alistar. Let's see what kind of Moo can do.
I mean, Afremu can carry a ball into Gnar and an Echo and just kill off the Kog'Maw. It's actually pretty rough. A lot of
definitely
options
some
you can do.
things.
The cow ball delivery system, once again, CLG have used it before.
Rush's Q was down. He couldn't kill the trinket. Could not get the attack speed.
A lot more pressure here on Gate to win this matchup. Maybe we even see an early visit from Rush. Try and turn it in his favor.
It's going to be hard to make that successful. Victor, not the best gank assistance early game. Pre-6 doesn't have, I feel like, quite the burst to make that scary. But it should be easy enough for him to get some farm. Victor, one of the best wave clearers in the middle laning phase.
After he upgrades.
Yeah, like about at level 7, you one-shot casters with a 1,000 gold investment.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
CLG starting everyone on the top side here. They are going to swap their dual lane up there. It will be a swap.
Invade that is spotted.
They just want to disrupt the saplings.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Afterman loses some health, but who cares?
Taking away the small advantages that Impulse are trying to feed to Gate. And he misses his first laser.
Done. Rough start.
You know, they say you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and he wasn't even able to throw a laser at the Raptors, so he might even miss 2. He couldn't take the Raptors laser.
All right.
Well, hits one there. We're going to see how this mid lane matchup pans out. CLG's still trying to play into that top jungle, though.
And still trying to affect Russia's early game. They got the lane swap off. They're getting the jungle invade off. Rush
doesn't have smites.
Heading to the weak side for some reason.
Well, they already have the Braum and the Maokai up there, though. They actually swapped Impact in there early, so we will be gaining golden experience, whereas Zion Spartan is still double jungling and actually will not be level 2.
Yeah, Rush again doing a buffless start on Lee Sin. He does 2 small camps first, and now
Smithy's got a red buff.
He hit level 3, though.
3 to 2, though. Rush, the only reason he's walking away right there.
Doesn't know where the W is.
Well, it's to avoid the parallel convergence, but he also doesn't know what kind of backup, because they didn't see the recall of Zion Spartan, so he thought it was going to be the double jungle finding him.
And that's always threatening.
The Rush I know. So if he knew it was a 1 versus 1, he would have.
Yeah, it's true. He would have jumped that guy. All right, well, under the turret is Impact as the Gnar makes his way down to the bottom lane here. So we're going to have mirrored lanes in terms of solo in the bot lane and a duo lane top side. See the matchups actually play out. Apollo cannot quite harass under turret as minions aren't far enough ahead. I'm curious to see where the gold goes. So far with the minions on the field, Impulse are up 300. And in fact, Gate doing sizably well. He's up 5 right now in the mid lane matchup. Significant improvement over normal for him.
I wonder what caused Pobelter to miss those CS so reliably ahead of Gate early in the Ori versus Ruby matchup.
Victor definitely stronger.
I think Pobelter gestured to assist Xmithy in the jungle further down the lane, but I can't say that for certain.
Experience-wise, they're the same. He wasn't at least out of range of the minions.
Okay.
But of course, that is longer than his attack range. It still could have been true. He at least just didn't miss XP.
There's very little to do to try and pressure the Victor without gank assistance, so Gate should be able to get these CS.
And that makes me ask why I didn't pick it before.
Barring.
Because last game, the Orion was blind picked as well, and he had the chance of going Victor.
Because it was a team comp.
That's true. That's true. I mean, there's more than laning phase.
Yeah, I mean,
of course.
if you want to win lane phase,
Victor's pretty
pick
good.
Victor.
Yeah.
But they were going for.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. You're right. But has made the adaptation here, and so far so good for Impulse. Of course, it's still very early on. We got to see much more of this game play out.
It's a minor difference, but I went back and checked. They both just stayed in lane the whole time. So Pobelter now with a slight harassment edge. Maybe he'll come back. This game pretty much all about the laning, and specifically, while the mid laners trade, it is about the top lane versus AD carry trade-off and how we have a Gnar laning against Kog'Maw, which will favor the Kog'Maw experience-wise, and it's actually kind of amazing that Impact has 29 CS on Maokai despite being up against AD carry.
Oh, Apollo had to flash away, and he might not have enough to do. There's the stun coming in. That's going to be the first blood, and they're going to give it over to Smithy. Just like last game, the jungle gate comes in, they kill off the AD carry, just opposite sides.
Smithy on the echo. Rush trying to answer, though. Gate baiting him in.
Gives him the shield and the heal. No chance for Pobelter now. Oh, I think he queued a minion, but Rush's going to have enough damage. Auto attacks him down, and there we go.
Jungle gank successful. Jungler's gold acquired in this case. Poe Belter already at a bit of a disadvantage. This could set up Gate for a lot of success, especially if they can shove this lane into turret in time and deny the cannon wave. That could be really huge.
Yeah. The other thing about how Impulse take over games, during the regular season, Rush had the most jungle share, as far as jungle camps taken of any jungler. So he takes over the enemy jungle a lot. And having a strong mid laner, Victor is the strong pick, plus now Victor with a lead is the perfect combo to do that with. Let's see if he tries to use that to his advantage. Smithy, though, actually did get the first blood bonus. So as far as the heads up, he does have the little bit of extra gold.
Yeah, they end up being tied as a result of the slightly extra farm despite the first blood. Impulse also up a couple hundred gold despite that first blood advantage.
Yeah, I mean, literally everyone on their team has more CS than CLG, so the typical early laning phase from CLG isn't paying off like they would expect it to.
All right,
Zion
Spartan, how much you got? There's the Mega Gnar, but Rush is here. Good luck, Zion Spartan. They get away from the stun. He flashes out. There's the ward hop. One more hit will do it. Rush flashes for the kill. It's 6, but Smithy gets out.
Rush able to work around that parallel convergence, no problem, and find the kill with his flash.
Really solid.
It was just really good movement there by Rush.
Yeah.
No wasted time.
And now Smithy's got to be careful. He's not level 6 just yet.
How many minions does he need?
A lot. He won't get 6 off this. Here comes the push on in. Impact pulls aggro. Runs away right off the bat. The shield will come in just in time to buy him some time. And now it's Adrian taking some damage from the champions. Rush still got to be careful. Hyper comes off on him. Impact is low. They've got to be careful. Where's the damage? The kick is down from Lee Sin. Misses the Q, and Zion gets the kill. They knocked out Impact too. The dive does not work out. Smithy survives.
Impulse too deep. They can't just take the win and walk away. The tower dive on Smithy backfires. Great teleport there from Zion, and they're able to pick up the double.
A series of over-aggressive plays by both teams, honestly. Zion Spartan had level 6 advantage, so he looked to immediately counter Impact. That was punished by Team Impulse, but he actually went up to lane without his TP in the first place, so when the dive does happen, Smithy can stall long enough for Zion to support him, and it all falls back into CLG's favor.
And look at this adaptation from Rush going Cinder Hulk on Lee Sin. Deviating from normal because they do have Gate as the DPS mid lane.
That's still so rare for Rush on Lee Sin.
It's definitely going to reduce the soloing potential that he has. Definitely can't make that same play where sees a low health target and runs straight for him under turret as he did with Zion last game.
Yeah. He did at least have that run of Cinderhulk Vi last split. That was pretty reasonable.
I mean, he's even swapped over. Okay, here we go.
All right, Belter taking some damage. Ooh, dodges the Q just barely. Now Smithy shows up. He will not land the stun.
Yeah, good call not to over chase this time around. Going into an Echo counter gank is devastating. Rush has actually even started Warrior before and swapped over in the late game to Cinderhulk.
I've seen that, yeah.
But yeah, he will have better health scaling at least.
We'll see as that pans out. Afro not yet level 6, whereas Adrian is, so a slight level lead in the bot lane for a short time until Afro gets that.
Pretty big lead now that Double F is matching back up against Apollo. Even though Apollo is on the Kog'Maw post level 6, Double F very decent CS lead here. Afro move positioning very forward in the lane, allowing them to continue shoving here.
The first blood gank that Smithy was able to put down onto Apollo really set him back. Interesting that Smithy actually wins the duel, Cinderhulk v Cinderhulk.
Yeah, didn't see the opening to that.
We saw the ending of this one. Impact taking a whole lot of damage. He's one hit away from dead. W's in, gets him in turret range, but can't Q or auto attack in time to heal. Solo kill for Zion Spartan. The fight continues. Rush getting jumped on. The rocket comes in. Counter Logic Gaming ripping this game apart.
That's a big advantage for CLG right there. 3 kills. This gives them dragon control. They just killed Impact. He does have teleport. Maybe he thinks about coming in. That would be far too risky.
Yeah, it is such a huge morale boost for CLG to get cross-map wins. Zion finding the solo at the same time as the rest of CLG collapsing for a great invade there. They leave behind deep wards.
Yeah.
They just took control.
That's the type of thing that just gives your team the ability to sweep a series, right? They're already up 2-0. The question will be whether CLG would be able to maintain the momentum. Early game, they absolutely have. Having a solo kill on Zion Spartan as well as an aggressive flash forward move in the jungle when everybody contributes. And then Smithy even wins the duel against the red buff. Like, everything is heading up.
Well,
beautiful play.
The win he was looking for there would be killing the red buff without having to use his smite. That's why he held on to it so long. He didn't want to have to, but
still didn't.
At least he didn't die to it.
Good. It's okay. Broken Shark can rest easy. His team qualified for the European LCS, so.
I feel like you were stretching with that one. You really wanted to make the Broken Shark reference. Oh well. You get points for it.
I appreciate that. I get 1 point. I don't deserve many. Impact pressing pretty heavily into this lane. Actually zoning out Zion Spartan a fair bit here. Despite the solo kills, Impact still trying to do the best he can in this matchup. Still up 20 minions as well. CLG slowly get farther and farther ahead in this game. It's a difficult road up for Impulse. They need to win this one.
Yep. I mean, the lane swap advantage, Double F had the CS advantage over Apollo, and Impact was supposed to be able to utilize his CS advantage when he met back up with Zion, but finding that solo kill, very, very big for him.
It's a favorable Gnar matchup as well. Slightly favorable, able to pick up kill. Black Beaver being completed is huge. Doublelift is probably sitting on a ton of gold as
They're
well.
both sitting on about 2,000.
Yeah, about 2,500 gold actually.
Flash by Doublelift, but they do catch up Afro, who is out of mana, which means he cannot ult out of this one. He's going to get picked up right there. Kill goes through. No, Adrian gets it with Ignite. They couldn't quite give the kill over. Double is missing his flash, though. Rush.
We know what happens when this goes on.
There's a smite, there's the kick, there's the Q, there's the other one, and there's the kill for Rush.
Kick, punch, kill.
Didn't even have to flash or ward hop for it.
Well, CLG definitely overstayed in that lane. You can see Doublelift was hoping for those last item breakpoints, and it cost them 2 kills. Some of the momentum they had puts them into overstaying. It's going to cost them the first turret of the game as well. Pretty big misstep there.
I mean, plus Gate, all this while, is going to be shoving mid lane, so he's going to get some turret damage there as well. Impulse may be able to rotate up.
Yeah, big health lead in the mid lane turret. It's down to half, whereas Gate's nearly full here. There's actually a lot that's coming up soon for Impulse.
Yeah. Bar CS though, Pobel right back in it, draws even with Gate on Orianna after completing his Themes, plenty of regeneration as well as mastery assist to go toe-to-toe in trades.
Smithy doing the best job to keep the vision control coming up for his team. Going towards a likely Sightstone second off that Ruby Crystal we see there, and every single time he gets Echo, and every single time he's done a good job being that frontline tank and keeping his team solid. CLG working well as a team.
Yeah, and they also have heavy ward control where Rush is on the map, so they know exactly where he is.
Oh man.
Got him.
The stun lands, the flash shockwave. Pobelter says thank you very much. The shield's not going to be enough. Mid lane kill comes through.
Again, Smithy on this Echo. Uh-oh, down bottom lane
dear,
though.
That's a big one.
Doublelift took turret aggro
that's
a little bit
heartbreaking.
early, so they couldn't pull off that gank.
Thankful for Afro that he was stuck in the Void Ooze, but of course not taking any damage out of that one. So Apollo stays safe, burning both summoners though, to be fair.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
They can visit him again soon. Mid lane outer does go down. Well done by CLG off that gank. 3,000 gold for these guys. Impulse unfortunately could not give the kills or many of assists even to Apollo. This Kog'Maw floundering a little.
It's actually very big for the next dragon. Probably should just go over this. Whoa.
Back teleporting in for the bottom lane play. Zion Spartan will just stay up there because they have caught out Afromu, and Rush just running to the front side. He wants Doublelift. He's going to get a lot of damage. This guy, there's the kick flash. There's the Q, and oh my god, over and over and over again. Rush making the plays.
One of the big vulnerabilities of a Jinx versus a Tristana, the escapes when they come down for a gank is not nearly the same, yet CLG is not adapting their playstyle. They're playing in an empty lane, meaning they have no turret behind them, and they also don't have the advanced wards on that side of the map. So again, CLG is punished for pushing a little bit too far on the bottom side, and it's good for Tip to keep going back to that well and getting more gold.
Yeah, they need to keep this bottom lane in check. Doublelift and Afromu have been such a huge part of the first two victories for CLG.
And crucially, item breakpoints come in for the AD carries just in time. Finish Trinity Force 1 minute before Dragon. Doublelift cannot get Infinity Edge money in time for that himself. despite the Avarice Blade money coming in for himself. So just maybe the next fight goes well. Gate getting caught up too. Does not quite land stun. The shield though blocks all the counterattack damage. Gate still gets a couple of hits. Ooh! Smithy dodges into the Braum chair.
But
all
the
is well.
only reason they went for that deep of a jungle invade is because they had such good ward coverage on the other side of the jungle, and they had eyes on both Rush and Apollo. So Smithy was confident that he could extend that far, try and go for the stun without too much of counterplay there from Impulse, and then just back out by the time Rush and Apollo rotate over.
And now a Dragon in 12 seconds. Both blue buffs just got taken by their respective mid laners. Those buffs are in. Halfway to the crucial items in for the mid laners.
All right, so we are getting to that dragon fight where Apollo will have no summoner spells. Gonna have to give a large berth to both Aphromoo and Zion Spartan, but they're not even going for the dragon. They want to trade it for this mid lane turret.
No TP for Impact. He has to stay with the team down at Dragon, so
Yeah,
CLG
try
has
and
some
use
room
the
to make
Jinx
plays.
for some big plays.
Will stun him. Fair bit of damage. They trade it back. There's the red team picking up the dragon. Now, how good is their push on the CLG? Zion Spartan still pushing the top lane. As this goes in, mid gets clear, but Zion got free reign up there, and the team joins him.
I actually like that for Impulse. They're trying to rotate up to the top to defend that one as well. A lot of work being done, though.
Yeah, they're pretty
Won't
quick.
Get there in time.
There's also a Righteous Glory on Impact. That's one of the big item breakpoints, as well as the Trinity Force for Kog'Maw. So it doesn't look like we'll see a fight early with the turret being down.
Oh, CLG go for the bait.
Oh,
They got behind an Adrian, the head, but over the wall. Nothing you can do about this one. The kill picked up cleanly. Counter Logic Gaming, what a great play.
Yeah, that was just super clever in the long form of things. It's an even objective trade, but then when you just thought it was over, COG continues the fight. Get that nice kill onto Adrian.
Well, it's still a scary Kog'Maw, but be careful of Alistair, of course. His flash is down, so you have some telegraph of this plays. Apollo has to be pretty smart about this one. He and Gate are the damage dealers. It is 4 kills on the Cinder Hulk Lee Sin, who gets jumped on right now by Aphromoo. Shockwave buys even more time and rushes another kill here. Now what can the carries do of this team? Meganar pushes him in. A big play by Zion Spartan. It is going to be cleanup crew now for Counter Logic Gaming. They want into the finals. 1 kill comes through. That's fine. They win another fight.
They were actually remarkably low when they committed in for the rest of that fight, but what a massive play it was. Great Shockwave, good Gnarl to secure some kills, and they are pulling really far ahead in this one.
Yeah, back-to-back big picks there for Aphromoo, setting that all up, and the re-engage from Zion, throwing at them another, but the double buff there for a short time on Gate is able to fend them off, and should be able to equalize here. Get some global gold back for Team Impulse.
I loved how aggressively Zion Spartan engaged to continue that fight, knowing that Apollo was still down flash on Kog'Maw. The beginning of this one, I mean, you can see why Rush did go Cinder Hulk Lee Sin, because he's going to be victim to a lot of damage here. Still dies regardless. Getting the two-man Shockwave is nice, and honestly, it's the backline access that doesn't exist for Team Impulse. People are free hitting. Zion Spartan shoots them back at him, and it's double lift and pull out there from the backside yet again, just doing all the damage they want to do.
Yeah, that's why I keep talking about the strength of this team fight here for CLG, because Impulse have very low mobility carries in Victor and Kog'Maw. Yes, they're high damage, but they're very low mobility, and it's so hard to peel Gnar and Alistar initiations.
Yeah.
They both have gap closes that you can't interrupt
with
and will
Shockwave.
just jump straight to the back line. Easy ball delivery systems for CLG. Fight's breaking out inside the jungle, though.
Apollo lost flash, and the fight continues now. Be careful. Impact running out from this one. Some slows by Xmith all as well.
COG's got to be very careful here, knowing that they whiffed the Shockwave already. It gives a window for Team Impulse to get aggressive, but Zion goes in anyway.
Wall goes in. They don't get the burst, but he can stun everybody. A lot of damage comes through. Victor trying to churn him down with the Chaos Storm, but it's not enough just yet. Smithy into the back line looking for Rush. He's 1 hit away from killing him off. Top lane turret goes down, gets the pick on Lee Sin, ults right back out, and now Impact's got to be really careful on this. It's already 2 kills for CLG. Actually, Smithy, after missing the stun, and Impact helps the team pick up 1 for themselves. Into the back lane goes Smithy, looks for Gate, gets a lot of damage in, does pick the kill up, and now what can Apollo do? He can't find Zion Spartan anymore, and it's a double kill for a double lift again.
And a 1 for 5 ace for CLG. When you miss a Shockwave, have a failed headbutt Pulverize, and still win the fight 5 for 1, you're probably going to the finals.
And it's going to happen here. It looks so likely. 7 kills up, 6,000 gold, and it's going to be even more when Baron comes through as Zion Spartan joins the team. Looks like they don't need all 5 for this one. It's just the 4 going to take down Baron cleanly and quickly, and all is well. Adrian can only sit back and watch, and Counter Logic Gaming fans can finally feel like the golden age has arrived. They're looking so good in Game 3 here, and they just might get that first final.
All right, let's take another look at this. Because we cautioned last game against the small corridors and fighting in them, Rush actually goes in just as Zion gets the stun. Then there's the parallel convergence all, and in that timing, Adrian goes down.
Yeah, and it's this triple tank team from CLG. Honestly, Smithy's Echo did so much work in these small corridors. Aphromoo goes in for this re-engage, doesn't get the headbutt off, just pulverizes nothing as Impact jumps in, but then it's Smithy who re-engages onto Apollo. He gets a stun on the gate, takes the hits from Apollo, and he is, at this point, the front line that is keeping Doublelift and Pobelter in these fights. Alistair, Echo, Gnar, just such a strong front line to allow Pobelter and Doublelift to do work.
So CLG now, they have got a minute and a half of this Baron buff left for them. We'll see how much they can push through with this one. Ward Spirit away. Jinx with a shield, very safe champion, and mid lane tier 2 goes down. The gold lead grows. 8,500 gold.
Yeah, this is
for inhibitor.
They are in such a good position to win this game right now. 8,000 gold, only 22 minutes in, and pushing on the inhibitor, whereas Tip is too weak to want a team fight, because if they lose the team fight, the game is over right now. But honestly, the game may already be decided unless CLG makes a monstrous misstep.
There's the inhibitor, 22.5 minutes in. It would require a lot for Impulse to get back in here. Kog'Maw still only on 1 item. Yet again, Doublelift is ahead of Apollo. Whether you build the team around him or not, Doublelift is doing so much work for the team. Yep. Pobelter also a great Orianna this game. Down the line, CLG looking very strong, every single player.
Doublelift has kept his farm tremendously high this game, even though he did overstay a few times to get punished. But holistically, it's worked exceptionally well for CLG, and this could be the moment where they kind of break their playoff curse. They still want to win the whole thing. That's their end goal. Never finished above 3rd place in an NALCS playoffs. They lost their last 2 series 3-0 to anti-3-0 someone right there. Now another fight in the lane.
Shockwave hits the 2-man Shockwave. Jinx Rocket hits 1, but it kills off Impact, so one of the big tanks is gone, and the push can always continue. There's just not enough damage. The minion's not getting cleared all that fast, and now comes the turret pushing.
Yep, 1 tank down, the other one out. Too low to even defend this. CLG with the Baron buff should be able to get a second inhib.
That was a red buff. Rush got to be real careful, and that one has to go back to the base to heal, which buys even more time for CLG. They've got 2 casters and a cannon, and they've got a Jinx. So here comes inhibitor turret number 2. It dies so quickly, and now inhibitor number 2. Counter Logic Gaming have shattered the base in 24 minutes.
Gonna savor that moment before they head to the finals. North American. Oh, here we go. Impact
has something to say about it. This is a last-ditch effort.
Here we go, Impulse. How much can they get? Who can they find? They look for Pobelter. The damage comes in. There's the kick. There's the shutdown. Smithy's next up has to dodge away and does not have mana to save himself. How much more can Impulse get? There's the root. There's the hit. There's the kill onto Smithy. It's coming down eventually. Rush gets it. That's 2 picked up. But how many objectives are left for Impulse to grab?
Yeah. Nothing. They've got 2 inhibitors down, and their lanes are all shoved into their base.
They nearly picked up a 3rd. They actually walked past Aphromoo, left him alone to kill off Smithy. I can't disagree, but they did get the last kill.
Stay calm.
Sneaky guy. It was actually kind of an interesting choice there. Team Impulse had the home guard teleport, and CLG was down multiple ultimates. And if they had stuck around, I think CLG would have had a chance of turning this fight, even though Doublelift was low on mana. But they kind of play it safe. CLG wanted to minimize their losses and not accidentally get aced here. Pobelter being caught out is, I think, the big reason they fell back here. But they were about to get Mega Gnar, and Doublelift was still at full health. Either way, not the end of the world for them to lose to Team Impulse, especially knowing no objectives.
I say definitely cut your losses. Just give away a couple kills. That is not going to be enough for Impulse to come back into the game.
Yeah, all it does is give him time to farm minions. This Kog'Maw is only 100 gold away from having Blade of the Ruin King. That is a very important item to get. But 25 minutes for 2-item Cog is super late, so still not necessarily even that threatening.
Yeah.
CLG have no major objectives to take. They've got to get into the base to do any of that. They're now missing Baron. It's just the gold lead allowing CLG to push. They're going to try for inhibitor number 3.
You would think that this game is going to wait for the next major objective to come down, knowing that CLG would kind of want to play it defensively.
I'd say 3 inhibitors being down is a major objective.
Yeah. Well, 2 inhibitors are down, and they do have Alistair for the potential dive. But if they waited for the Baron in 2 minutes, it would be a much more secured 3rd inhibitor. Let's see how patient COD is willing to be, or if they just want to take the game right now.
Well, 4 flashes up for Impulse, so the ability to make hardcore plays is here. Of course, a similar state for Counterlogic Gaming.
The double lines of super minions already flooding into the base, though. They buff each other up with their auras. You have to send multiple people over to deal with those.
Yeah.
And CLG
Yeah, they can walk up and take this right now.
All right, Victor and Ka got to rejoin the team. Apollo's here. Here's the push
Impulse
on
have
in.
to fight now if they're going to fight.
And there's the turret going down. No
Give
chance
it
for the
up.
impact.
I don't even know if they could have fought then, because the minions would have taken down their Nexus turrets if they go in. At the very least, they want to be able to hold this inhibitor. Well, there's no real windows for them to go in well.
There's no good fight that they're going to take. You have to do it before you get flooded. Now,
yeah, 3 inhibs and Baron is no chance of winning at all. 10% is better than 0. Impulse did not go for the 10%. There's the engage, a 2-man knockup with no turrets really left. Here's the backline access. How much can they kill? Impact buying a lot of time, but there's the shockwave. It's a doozy. 2 kills picked up already, and it's time for the slaughter. CLG, another knockup. There's a double kill for 2 members. This is going to be the game. The 3-0 sweep. Counterlogic Gaming finally get a good season. They're headed to the finals, and CLG are 1 best of 5 away from the World Championship.
That has to feel so good for CLG. After the entire season, after the losing streak they had in the middle of the split, after not winning the tiebreaker game to get the #1 seed. But all in all, this has been their best split by regular season finish with 2nd place, and now guaranteed to be their best split because they are in the finals in Madison Square Garden next week.
And what is this CLG? They haven't even lost a playoff game yet. There was 1 streak of 4 losses. That was the only time CLG fans could have lost hope this split. 4 games in the middle of the split. That was it. CLG looking very good in this lineup.
Yep. Now we just have to determine who will be facing them in Madison Square Garden. We'll find out tomorrow with TSM versus Team Liquid.
I am honestly surprised that it was a 3-0, though. I was expecting a lot out of Team Impulse.
Yeah.
They played one style pretty much the whole way through. They said, put the eggs in the Apollo basket. Gate did play Victor, and it was okay. Rush was still, of course, a very, very good player, but
Yeah,
they couldn't pull it together.
It was honestly a somewhat disappointing series from Team Impulse because games 1 and 2 were so close, but even after losing, they continued to play the same general style, which doesn't usually lead to victory. It's one of the main reasons that CLG, or that Team Impulse, is successful in the past, because they stick with the same style, just wasn't here.
Well, CLG's style was awesome, and so to hear more from them, we're going to send it down to Riv, who's standing by on the blue side with CLG's Rush Hour bot lane.
I am down here. There was a bit of traffic to get over, but I am joined by Doublelift and Afromoo. What a win they just had in a best of 3. I gotta say, gentlemen, a lot of the community was saying that CLG was still kind of faltering. It wasn't gonna happen. But Doublelift, you came in, the team came in with an abundance of confidence. Where did that come from at the end of the season?
Well, normally when we have our slump in the regular split, we just kind of like fall apart and we don't really know what our identity is, like what our strategies we should run, where our strengths are, weaknesses, stuff like that. But this split, I guess everything just clicked together, and if you work at something again and again and again and again, eventually it'll just work out if you put the work in.
Well, it definitely seemed to work out through the game. Afromoo, if you could say you were really proud of something that the team did throughout this series, or the entire series, what would you say it would be?
I'm really happy that Darshan, Eugene, and Jake played really well. They had a great trio in the top side of the map and definitely shut down Impact, Rush, and Gate. So I'm really proud of our teammates. I'm proud of you, man. Don't worry.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
There you go. There you go. It can't be a Rush Hour bot lane with no love. Looking forward to Madison Square Garden now. You guys have locked yourself in for that and the regionals after, depending on the results. How are you feeling about those matches? Team Liquid, TSM to come up, and even who you face?
I don't personally care. I don't think anyone on the team cares. We have to beat everyone in NA if we want to be, obviously, the first place, and that's what we're going for. I think this is our split.
All right, well, congratulations to both of you. Thank you for taking the time after a quick win to speak with me. I'm going to let you guys go do your thing now. Right now, we're going to throw it back to the caster desk.
Thank you very much, Riv. Didn't lie to us this time. I appreciate that. Honestly, CLG 3-0, they have won so many games now on the back half of this split, on the trip to Worlds. What a good time to peak. And as Doublelift said, yeah, this might be the season for CLG.
Yeah, so many improvements to talk about. But Smithy on this Echo wasn't really pushed, right?
Yeah.
He got to continue to stay on this champion. Really, really well performing for him. We'll definitely see how he matches up. But Rush, theoretically, would be his biggest test to go head-to-head to as far as single jungle matchups. And he performed admirably.
What is somewhat disappointing about this series, while CLG absolutely deserves the win, is that Team Impulse never really challenged them, right? Not just the Echo, but Pobelter's pool wasn't really attacked. They banned Doublelift 280 carries, but that was the minimalist of challenge. They never changed their overall style. Team Impulse just seemed to go for the same plays back again and again. They weren't creative, and eventually CLG just evolved a little bit and continued to win.
We have seen, flexibility in the regular season from Impulse, at times, thinking that they would draw more from that. But it just wasn't here for the series.
Yeah, and the thing is, generally speaking, I'm okay with the team running the same team comp over again or changing it up. But the big thing I think is I definitely want to see bans change around. And the fact that, they added a Doublelift ban here, but they never really changed much, right? They never said, okay, let's just make a comp that's good at killing the front line, and actually stuck to it. When they banned away Alistar or took away Alistar, they were still only playing one threat. If there's any game to give away Alistar, it's a game where you have Vayne who can kill him anyway. But when you've got a Kog'Maw and a Victu who are going to crush through the front line, that's the game they give away Alistar. That's the game where they're inconsistent with their pick and ban strategy, and it was just so strange. It felt Impulse were a little bit lost there. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull it out there. CLG with a well-deserved 3-0. And for more on Impulse's day on the Rift, I'm going to throw it down once again to Riv.
Thanks, guys. Made my way over to Impulse's side to chat with Apollo. A very tough game versus Counter Logic going into it. How are you feeling approaching this day? How is the team feeling going into the game, Apollo?
Actually, we were feeling pretty good just because our scrims are going well against the teams that we're facing, which is a little bit off because we usually don't do well in scrims. So maybe it was I just had to do something with that. But I think we thought we would do a lot better. But then they were just a really strong team and they were well prepared.
The reverse results from scrims. It seems like a lot of teams get plagued with that. Coming into this game, you guys were looking great at the end of the season. An unfortunate switch had to come in. How did this affect the team's scrims in best of fives, or even the chance to get a best of five scrim with Gate in there?
It took a lot of getting used to just because he's an amateur player, and so he might have nerves or just not as comfortable with best of fives. But it's just nothing we can really do about it. We just practiced really hard, and in the end, I think it was just a better fit for our team. But we just maybe need a little more time. That's all.
Oh, you guys can still breathe life into your chances. The North American Regional Qualifier coming up. How do you guys feel you're going to do in that? Time to practice here.
Yeah, we'll see. Just a lot of practice. I don't know. We thought we would do well today, so we'll see. Just more practice. That's all.
No, not a problem. There's time to do that. We look forward to seeing you in New York, and best of luck. Now we're going to throw it over to the analyst desk to break down the rest of the day.
Thank you, Riv. Now, gentlemen, I do have to call back to the beginning of the day where both of you were looking at this series to go in favor of Team Impulse. So I have to imagine it's come as somewhat of a surprise that CLG 3-0'd the victory above all of that.
Yeah, CLG came out with incredible strategies that they were just able to perform on over and over again. And it's not just champion picks, right? They just stuck to their formula. They didn't overthink themselves, but every level 1 was actually really good. In Game 3, they stopped the saplings. They denied the red buff from Rush. Game 1, you saw what ended up happening, not level 1, but early game, was they got that kill onto Rush early on, and the first blood went over to Zion. And Rush was up in level, so you have the rubber band mechanic of experience. So when they killed him, it was a much larger lead. So I really liked CLG's early game strategies against TIP, and then they seem to have some mid-game, the mid-game is the only thing that seems like it's a problem for them. Their late game seems to be cleaning up because they're capitalizing off mid-game mistakes, but their early game is definitely what CLG brought to the table here.
Yeah, you can tell they really had a solid game plan going in. They really didn't want to fight at all before 6. They knew Rush and TIP thrive on early skirmishes where Rush just runs away with the lead. And I may have just cursed TIP as well because I went against CLG and because last week I went against TIP and they sent me home early, and then today COG sent me home early. So maybe it was pretty bad. Sorry TIP fans, but yeah, I think that's maybe what just happened.
Well, now to that end, I do want to look at Impulse because, as Jat said, he was somewhat disappointed to see them not challenge CLG, not expand their strategies as much, knowing that, hey, if you don't make it through this series, that's it for you in the playoffs. You would have expected them to maybe go a little bit further, push the envelope.
Yeah, if you're Liquid or TSM, you're sitting there going, they could have milked another strategy from them. They could have gotten more from them. So they're actually sitting in a really good spot, CLG. That is. But like just freaking Jat said, I'm disappointed that TIP in a BO5, it's not so much always about adapting yourself. It's also about forcing your opponents to adapt to you. So when you're banning new things, you're changing up your strategy, they're going to have to change theirs eventually if it stops working or stops working as effectively. And they didn't do that. So I feel like in that regard of a BO5, they fell flat. And that's why we see them going to the third, fourth place match.
Yeah, the fact that Echo was played 3 times. The fact that Pobelter didn't really seem challenged. Zion didn't really seem challenged. It makes you wonder what would have happened. What does Xmithy go to second? And is he as effective on it, right?
They first picked the Echo game 1, so I'm just like, that's such a high priority.
It's clearly a very high priority.
And then they picked it over the Gragas in game 2. So I want to see what else he has because they picked that up so quickly, which tips off me in my head that those are probably his best 2 champions, and then his third champion is not very strong.
Yeah, unfortunately, the winner of the next semifinal tomorrow won't really have that much information against CLG, and I'm sure CLG is very happy with not only their performance, but that it was a clean 3-0. No, not the most cleanest games, but yeah, it was a 3-0 sweep, and it was great for them.
Regardless, you have to imagine they're going to be rolling into the finals, their first finals ever, with a lot of confidence, having beaten them as well as they did, and as you just mentioned, not having to show too many strategies. They may have some more things up their sleeves that they can pull out and really surprise in the finals. Now, of course, the player that stole the show today, though, was Doublelift. We heard how much a win would mean to him, and he came out swinging today. He played fearlessly and helped carry his team into their first playoff finals.
His positioning in all these games, the third one was actually one that was much harder because there was focus on him. But in games 1 and 2, the Tristana was absolutely devastating and a huge key to victory. Because they were putting so much on Apollo's shoulders, he had to counter position as Apollo goes right. He has to go left and keep this distance between them. Good auto spacing today.
Yeah, his positioning was phenomenal. His movement was even better, I'd say. I think the kill contribution is just ridiculous of what he provides to his team. You don't really see that many ADCs rotating around for kills. You usually see them rotating for mostly turrets nowadays, but yeah, he's just playing great.
And then let's not.
CS lead was huge.
I was about to say, let's not forget the farm. Just the most basic element of League of Legends, which is get the minion kills. And again, every time we'd look up around that 25-minute mark, there was just a substantial
He was
CS
70 up
lead.
in that last game. It was ridiculous. They give so much farm into him, and that was something that people were like, oh, it's not as good of a strategy anymore. You want to have a really fed Azir, you want to have a really fed Victor, right, to clear these waves. But for CLG, it just seems to be working out for them, just putting more farm into Doublelift, because he had a really, really, really good day, and they didn't even have to play around him in terms of composition.
Well, with that win, we can fill out a little bit more of the bracket, so let's pull that up onto your screens. CounterLogic Gaming have secured their spot in the finals and will go for the gold next week in New York's historic Madison Square Garden. They'll face off against the winner of tomorrow's semifinal series between Team Liquid and TSM. Now, on the flip side, the only road left for Team Impulse to play at the World Championship is through the regional qualifier. So they will face the loser of tomorrow's semifinal and try to bank as many championship points as they can for seeding in that qualifier. Now, in addition to Team Liquid versus TSM, we'll start our semifinal coverage tomorrow with the European LCS battle between the #1 seed Fnatic and the Unicorns of Love. It's always a barn burner when those two teams meet, and you won't want to miss it. Our coverage starts at 8 a.m. Pacific, which is 5 p.m. for our friends in the Central European time zone. Of course, then we'll come back over here for our series. Getting your thoughts on tomorrow's series, especially yours, Kiwi, as you won't be around tomorrow. Team Liquid versus TSM. Liquid coming in as the favorite, being the #1 seed, but TSM looking pretty good coming off of their last series in the quarterfinals. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
I think Team Liquid should take it maybe 3-0 or 3-1. Unless they had some kind of internal turmoil in the past 2-3 weeks, yeah, the Liquid should take it because they have such a solid game plan all the time. They know how to play against almost every comp. It seems like any LCS as a whole was kind of outclassed by Team Liquid over the split, and it's just going to be really fun to watch.
All right, Zyrian, now to your thoughts.
Yeah,
because yours matter as well.
Thank you. I echo Kiwi Kid's thoughts on that. I think it's going to be a very close set, 3-2. I do give it to Liquid on that edge.
Okay.
They've been preparing for the BO5s for a while now. They were talking about that was their focus at the end of the split, is focus on these BO5s. Question is pressure and experience against each other. Which team is going to come out on top? I think it's going to be extremely close because TSM looks like they have new strategies for the first time in a long time. So that's what's coming into this series, and I think TL has that little edge.
Yeah, both of those teams bloodthirsty, looking for that road to the final, that trip to the finals in Madison Square Garden. Well, now it's time to put on our learning caps for the world according to Kiwi Kid. Now, to remind everyone, earlier in the show, we asked for your Kiwi questions, and our first comes from Tweet Clash. Yellowstar's Trundle was a huge surprise. Do you have your own secret pick that you consider as hugely underestimated?
I feel like it's a little redundant if I say Trundle because Yellowstar already played it, but nobody has played it in any LCS yet, correct?
No, yeah.
So Trundle would be up there for me, but I want to go into like Leona again. I think against a lot of champions, she can break even in the lane, and with a great ult placement, you can carry a lot of fights. Of course, she scales off late, but in a competitive setting, you can actually play around your team with that, and Leona would probably be a champ that I really want to see that gets up again.
All right, well, we'll see if that does make an appearance in the next couple of weeks. Next up, Cray Lamona Department says, do you miss the top lane days or do you prefer being a professional support?
I don't really miss being a top laner. It just wasn't really as fun for me as it used to be, I think. And I really enjoy playing support now. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm actually still very, very confident in my ability, despite getting 3-0'd by TIP last week.
So would you rather be a professional top laner or on the analyst desk?
Yeah, on the analyst desk next to my buddies.
There it is. I like it. I actually do have one follow-up.
Same.
Just out of curiosity, the transition from top to support, what was the biggest challenge in that transition?
Easily the biggest challenge is actually still, well, at first, it was probably lessening my deaths. I mean, I think I'm pretty infamous as being known as having the most deaths in a split. I don't know if I still have that award.
I'm not sure if you do take it from you?
I don't know. Maybe we'll get confirmation on that.
I can't believe somebody took that from me. Come on, I want it back.
So.
I'll get it back next year. Don't worry, boys.
There you go. All right. Well, next up, Boredom X says, you are always smiling. How do you keep such a positive lifestyle?
I don't know how to say this. I want to.
He can't answer it, but he can smile.
I want to be super truthfully. I just kind of don't let things affect me, and then the question goes from there. How do you not let things affect you? I just feel really lucky. I feel really grateful every day. I know. I don't mean to like look down on others, but I have a working body and everything. I feel really blessed, and I just as long as I can walk and I can think and I can sleep. Like people have insomnia, people have a lot of other things, and yeah, I don't really. It sounds like I'm comparing myself to them, but really I'm not. I just really feel lucky, and I always feel just lucky walking in the world.
You're grateful and you savor what you have, even if it's the little things. I completely understand that. That's actually a very big key to being happy is taking account of what you have, because people focus too much on what they don't have. They're like, I want that, but actually just introspecting and looking at those things.
Yeah.
Really good
it's
for
a fantastic
lifestyle.
mentality, and to be honest, it keeps you very humble, which is, I think, one of your best characteristics. Now, next up, Johannes Plem says, how is it to go from North American mastermind QtPie to Korean sensei Core JJ?
The best thing about Core JJ and QtPie, well, for Core JJ is Core JJ doesn't play with the whip whenever we lane.
The truth comes out.
Yeah, it's not really fun getting hit by a cat of nine tails every time I lane with QtPie. So and it's funny because I took quite a beating having that many deaths before, but no, it was great. Core JJ is really patient with me, and before he was even in America, he was like, "Kiwi, I'm gonna make you the best support," and I don't know if that holds true. I don't know if I can say that for myself, but I definitely feel a tremendous amount better. And even though, of course, there's a language barrier and we don't listen to, Kanye or Kendrick together, but it's still really fun playing with Corey, and he's always really happy. And I would say I think Corey was a great, for lack of a better replacement for Cutie Pie. It definitely helped fill the void.
Well, it sounds like you guys have a great working relationship, and that's the most important thing towards improving as a duo. Now, finally, Shifter asks, hey, who picked out that jacket and shirt?
Yeah, thanks, Shifter. He stuck with me for 2 hours finding shirts. We had to go from store to store because we couldn't actually find anything that kind of looked right. And honestly,
Shifter's
awesome. I was going to say, you look damn good.
Yeah,
I know.
That's all that matters.
I'm seeing you on the screens. I'm like, you look good on the screen, too. That's actually really good because they don't always transition.
Yeah, they don't always
it looks good in
translate.
person.
Yeah,
but it looks
I was
good on
actually pretty
screen, too.
nervous, and
All right.
I haven't dressed up in 3 years because I actually had to buy this yesterday. So I really think thanks.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I guess kudos to Shifter for his fashion sense.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
All right, well, before we sign off, I want to extend a special thanks to our guest, Kiwi Kid. It was wonderful to have you on, sharing your insights. As short as the series was, once again, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Dash, and thanks, Irene, for joining me.
Glad to have you. Our pleasure. Hopefully soon once
Thanks
again.
for having me, Kiwi.
Yeah, don't mention
Thank you. All right, now for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
This one specifically is going to be really action-packed because these are the teams to have the most kills. Definitely going to be a lot of action.
Big knockup from Adrian. The fight continues. A double lift goes down. Rush kiting away from Zion Spartan. Survives the encounter. Triple lift. The shields come in. He goes down. He gets hexed. And now Apollo's going to die for that one. A double kill. Counter Logic Gaming in the semifinals take game 1. Looks for a lot. Rush can only do so much. But oh my God! A double kill and Apollo's still going.
I'm stunning. I'm stunning.
Keep it.
We stand. I'm exhausting Bane when he comes out. Exhaust. I exhausted him. Play.
Counter Logic Gaming 1 win away from their first ever North American LCS final.
Make sure if you guys get interview after a game, first thing you say, it's Apollo's birthday. Everyone sing happy birthday.
Oh man, I feel like all of us are playing really well.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah. Oh shit, this is the hype up moment. We're playing as a team.
Holding
the tears.
And we're pretty sick at playing from behind now.
Own in the tears, boys.
Goes in, they don't get the burst, but he can stun everybody. A lot of damage comes through. Victor trying to turn him down with the Chaos Storm. Impact buying a lot of time, but there's the Shockwave. It's a doozy. 2 kills picked up already. Counter Logic Gaming finally get a good season. They're headed to the finals.